Sports talk entertainment you'll find anywhere, getting underway right this very second. And of course, it's a Turn the Page Thursday, a day where we start looking ahead to the sports weekend upcoming. And it is one of the better sports weekends upcoming that we've had on the docket for some time. We've got LSU Ole Miss. We've got Alabama, Georgia. We've got Illinois, USC, South Carolina, Kentucky, obviously Clemson on the bye week. And on the show today, I would like to, for both of these teams, I would like to put you in the programming director's chair for just a minute. For both of these games, I'd like to put you in the athletic director's chair for just a second. What's this weekend mean, and what does it look like? And by that, I mean, if you're Clemson, and I give you the opportunity this beautiful Thursday morning to head into that locker room, to have a conversation with Dabo Swinney, to have a conversation with the Clemson Tiger football team, if I give you the opportunity to be in charge of the messaging to the boys, what are you saying right now? You know, I've heard in spots other shows where they've said, oh, you know, call in and give your best motivational speech to the team. Call in and say what you would say if you were in the locker room right now. And I'm not going to call in and ask you to be a voice actor. I'm not going to ask you to call in and try to win an Emmy. But I am going to ask you, what is your message to this football team this weekend? I'm going to give you mine later on in the show. I'm going to ask the same thing of the of the South Carolina Gamecocks. If I said to you that you get to go into the locker room Saturday as the Gamecocks are getting ready to head out onto the pitch to take on the Kentucky Wildcats, what would you say? What would your message be to that team? Do it. See, I got to tell you, I think there are times and places. I think that there are times and places where you kind of got to be a little bit negative, man. Like, you kind of got to point out what reality is.
To win games, you have to win the game, not lose the game.
I mean, I'm not really super fired up after that, but yeah, I guess to some degree. No, I think there is absolutely a time and a place for a get your ass in gear.
Game over, man. It's game over.
That clip is funny because of a thought that I had yesterday.
Man. It's game over.
No, see, that's about the wrong team. Here's the take.
What? Well, also, that's signature to a team. Okay.
All right. No. The game over, man, game over take. Because while I do think it is game over, man, game over for the Clemson Tigers, I have another take, and it is this.
You must chill.
If the South Carolina Gamecocks lose to the Kentucky Wildcats this weekend, if the South Carolina Gamecocks lose to the Kentucky Wildcats, you will not be bowl eligible.
Oh, no.
If the South Carolina Gamecocks drop this game against the Kentucky Wildcats, your playoff options are already shot. I do not see a path from this point forward for your football team to the 2025 college football playoffs. If you lose to Kentucky this weekend, a not good football team. And there's a variety of reasons that could happen. I do not predict it. I don't think it is going to happen. But if you lose to the Wildcats this weekend, forget missing out on the college football playoffs. If you lose to the Wildcats this weekend, at that point, while I understand many of you are hinging right now on, well, Rob Brown, we started slow last year as well. We started slow last year, and then we made a run, and we ended up getting to 9-3. And while it maybe didn't end the way that we wanted it to. We still had a pretty good run. And, I mean, effectively were the first team left out of the playoffs. And great. But that's 2024. That's not 2025. There is another primary difference to that. And it is how your schedule stacked up last year versus this year. Your slow start out of the gate was 3-3. Old Dominion, slow game. You got it going against Kentucky. You had the LSU loss, which I think got ripped away from you. You turned around and you took it out on Akron. Then you dropped back-to-back games against Ole Miss and Alabama. But what about the back 6 games of the schedule? You had an Oklahoma team that at the time was asking the question, should we fire Brent Venables? Is it already time to say that this didn't work out? You had the 44-20 win over Texas A&M, which was very much a good win, as Texas A&M was ranked inside the top 10 in the nation at that point. But this was also a Texas A&M team that did not even really, even as a top 10 team, didn't really have their identity under Mike Elko established yet. They do this year. Then you beat Vanderbilt. And again, Vanderbilt had the win over Alabama. That was a good win over Diego Pavia, Clark Lee, and the boys, especially when people were kind of feeling the doors a little bit. But as Lonzo has said many times, it's still Vanderbilt. You got Mizzou, 34-30. You got Wofford. And then, of course, you went on the road. You went to Death Valley, and you knocked off the Clemson Tigers, who were number 12 in the country at that point. It's a good run, but it is not what the back half of the schedule is this year. It's just not. You got Kentucky. Then you're on the road at a top 4 LSU and a team that a lot of, I'm not one of them, I think they're overrated, but a lot of people believe are now a justified national championship contender.
Nope.
Then it's Oklahoma with Brent Venables, who is being discussed right now as the SEC Coach of the Year, and we're in week 4. Then you've got Alabama, who, yes, has the loss to Florida State, though, and even though Florida State hasn't played anybody since then, is looking more and more like a, okay, maybe we get it kind of loss, but also has been dumping 50s and 60s on people since then. Then you've got Ole Miss, which we'll learn a lot about Ole Miss this weekend. But here's this cat getting the starting nod from the running Rebels named Trinidad Chambliss, who last week went for 300 through the air, over 100 on the ground. I think it was 5 total touchdowns accounted for. Like, all of a sudden, they found themselves a dude who, and yes, it's early, and it's a small sample size, but this dude is doing what everybody thought Lenore Sellers was going to do through the air and on the ground. Like, he is right now through the last all of the one game. It is one game. There wasn't a lot of tape on him. We'll see if he's able to replicate that feat this week against LSU. But he looked more like Lenore Sellers than Lenore Sellers did this past weekend.
Disappointed. I thought Trinidad Chambliss would be dressed up like William Regal or something. With that name.
It's a great name. It's a fantastic name. Then you've got Texas A&M on the road at the compound, down there taking on the Colt, who have their identity now. And not only do they have their identity now, but Marcel Reed now finds himself inside of the shortest, I think, 5 or 6 odds getters for the Heisman Trophy, Coastal, and then against the reeling Clemson. So if you drop this game to Kentucky, and that puts you in a spot where you were going into that run with 2 wins, I will need 4 wins out of LSU, Oklahoma, Alabama, Ole Miss, Texas A&M, Coastal, and Clemson. And I'm going to keep it a buck with you. A team that loses to Vandy, Mizzou, and Kentucky is not rolling through LSU, Oklahoma, Alabama, Ole Miss, A&M, Coastal, and Clemson and getting 4 wins. It's not happening. It'll be a stretch to roll through that and get 3 wins to be bowl eligible. You are not getting 4. So this is going to be very dramatic, but I'm also going to stand on it being accurate. South Carolina fans, you will know by Saturday night if this is or is not going to go down. Scratch that. You will know if this is. You won't know if it will not, because there's a lot of football left. But you will know by the time you lay down your sweet little head on Saturday night if this is the most disappointing season in South Carolina Gamecock football.
Bro.
I don't think that's a stretch. I do not think that there has been a point.
It will never. It won't be the most disappointing ever.
How would it not?
Because they went winless one year.
Yeah, but
you can't get worse than that.
No, I didn't say worse. I said more disappointing. I don't think there were.
It was pretty disappointing in the winless year.
Sure,
I'm just saying.
But I could be wrong here.
I was here for that. It was not.
Sure,
it was not pleasant.
But did you enter that year with, hey guys, 1-2 bounces of the ball the right way, we could be in the championship hunt?
No, but you enter
Absolutely
that year
not.
thinking you're going to win at least a couple of games.
Okay, cool. So you went from we expected to win a couple to we didn't win any versus we have expectations of playing for the national championship. And now I'm telling you lose to Kentucky. You're not going bowling. Not high level bowl, not New Year's 6 bowl, not Jan 1 bowl, bowling. You're not going to the Poinsettia Bowl. You're not going to the Holiday Bowl if you lose this weekend.
I don't think this Poinsettia is still, I think it might be.
Yeah, it's got a title sponsor now.
Because of all the flowers.
Yeah, it's like all
those people growing flowers every year. There's a couple bowls they have to be at that and the Rose Bowl. They got to be allowed to do stuff.
It's like the Laffy Taffy Poinsettia Bowl or something. I don't know
who the
sponsor
Taffy.
is.
I haven't had that in forever. I refuse to be that negative. I think they got a shot to do better than what you say.
If they lose to Kentucky and they have L's against,
yeah, they got their butts whipped by Vandy, and I think Vandy is a lot better than people are giving them credit for. We'll see when they.
Who are you? Me?
Anyway, I watched them play and they look pretty good.
They're damn good.
So I think it would be awesome if South Carolina can't win the SEC to watch Vandy do it. And right now they're undefeated, and it's a possibility. And you can go, no, they got to play this team and this team and this. Yeah, they do. And we'll see what they do. Same with South Carolina. They got to play all these teams. Could they lose the rest of them? Yes. But they could also, although this is hard probably for you to fathom, they could win out.
No, they can't.
Yep, absolutely
no,
they could.
They can't.
Why play then?
I don't think
why play then? If there are people with that attitude on that team or any team, period, we just can't. We can't win. I just stopped. Why are we even out here?
Well, it's a good thing I'm not on that team then, isn't it?
It's
a real good thing I'm not on that team, because then I would be a real piece of crap.
You'd be dropping
balls. But I'm not on that
team.
team.
They would put you on the bench and go,
no, son, I got hands.
Why can you not hang on to the ball?
I got hands, baby. I got hands. A team with the 3 losses that you will have should you lose this game this weekend is not a team I think is running through that gauntlet down the stretch and doing so with 4 wins. It would require an in-season turnaround that I don't think we have seen anything like in years gone by. It would require an in-season turnaround and improvement that I would have to ask, what do you see, what have you seen so far that would make you go, that runs in that team? If you lose to a bad Kentucky team on the road, what would you say on tape you can point at and go, they are this one thing because that got better and this is going to elevate them to where they can go on a run? Because I've got nothing.
Well, Lenore Sellers fully recovers from the concussion. The play callers realize that they have to try to run the ball and do it successfully. And the defense remembers how to tackle.
I'm good with all that. We're 4 weeks deep in the season. We're 4 weeks deep.
Yeah, sometimes it takes a while to get going. And sometimes you believe your hype and you get smacked in the mouth and go, okay, we really have to work for this. You get back to the grind, you get in there, you put in your work, and you work for it.
Cool. I hope that's what happens. Let's be very clear. What I did not say was you will lose to Kentucky. That's not what I said. What I said was if you lose to Kentucky, I very much hope, if for no other reason, aside from I'd love for you guys to make a deep run. I'd love for you guys to at least be in a prestigious bowl for my sake, for my job's sake. But the real answer is I hope you guys don't stink up the field and lose to Kentucky because my wife will be intolerable on Saturday if you lose to Kentucky. Even she knows if we lose to Kentucky, she's called the shot. We lose to Kentucky. I'm done.
I'm glad she can't hear the way you said even she knows. And that's, I mean, that's a
I shouldn't have said no.
Not, you
that's not what
I
intended to say was even she has said
if
we lose to Kentucky, I'm done. Which I get. I understand it.
You mean as a diehard fan, she's done.
Yeah,
I think nothing to do with knowledge or anything.
No, she will be done with this year's football team. Like that'd be it. So I did not say
How many people, when they say they're done, still watch?
Judging by the NFL and NBA ratings, all of them.
Right. I'm done. All of them. I'm done with my team. You've been done with your team for a while, but you still watch. So
of course I do.
I mean, because it's your team.
Just let me be mad, okay? I just want to be mad. It's kind of like, it took me a very long time, and every dude who's been married for any length of time is going to hit me with the duh, Rob. It took me a real long time to learn that when a lady comes to you and says, I have a problem, she is not asking you to fix it. She just wants to be mad and vent and get it off her chest so that she can go back to her real life. It took me a long time to figure out that when the lady comes to me and goes, you will never believe that this person did that or that person, this happened, whatever. She doesn't want me to drop everything I'm doing and going, all right, I got a solution. Let's do this. Here's how we fix this. She just wants you to sit back and go, oh, babe, that sucks. I'm sorry to hear that. That must be frustrating. Oh, that girl, what up? That's what she wants, not to fix it. Sometimes I just want to be mad. All right, just let me get it off my chest. And unfortunately, you all play the role of my non-consenting therapist sometimes. I am not saying that South Carolina will lose to Kentucky this weekend. In fact, quite the opposite. I think you'll win this game this weekend. However, what I will say is there's about 6 things on the docket for this weekend that I'll be paying attention to. And if those 6 things don't change during this game against Kentucky, a game that is critically important because, as I have mentioned, if you lose this game, forget the playoffs, you will not be bowl eligible. About 6 things I'm looking and paying attention to see change. And if they don't change, I think the offseason is going to come with some very, very difficult conversations. We'll talk more about that later on. Clemson fans, South Carolina fans, you're in charge of the locker room. You get to walk in on Saturday, whether you're on the bye week or at Kentucky. You get to walk in this weekend. You get to deliver a message to the team. What is it? 844-326-3663. Back after this on the Rob Brown Show. Back after this on the Fan Upstate.
QC.
All right, guys, quick live right out of the gate. Y'all stay right there. We'll be right back. Good morning, everybody.
all that stuff one thing.
The Rob Brown Show back on your radio. It's the Fan Upstate. Rob Brown, the great one, Lonzo, and you. Jersey Joe joined us on our live stream, facebook.com/the Fan Upstate. The Fan Upstate on Twitter and YouTube. The Rob Brown Show on Facebook, on YouTube, and on Twitch. We broadcast all 4 hours of the show live each and every day. Come on in, hang out with us, and watch the show. It's the best way to listen to the show. We also stay on the air or on the stream for most of, not all, but most of the breaks. We have conversations with you off the air. Sometimes it makes it on, sometimes it doesn't. I asked the question this morning of you early risers, you 6 a.m.ers. If you got an opportunity on Saturday to stand in front of your school's locker room, whether you are a Gamecock or a Tiger, if you got the chance to stand in front of your locker room on Saturday and deliver a message to the football team, what would that message be? I'm not asking you. I mean, you're welcome to call in and act it out if you would like to. But what's the message? What's the tone? What's the words? What's the message you would deliver? Jersey Joe just got in on the live stream. And he said, no comment on Clemson or South Carolina. These kids nowadays have the world of things handed to them. And now that they're getting paid, don't get me started. I have a totally different outlook on college football nowadays compared to 40 plus years ago when I was at the college level. Joe, I'm gonna say first and foremost, love you, buddy. Glad you're here. Now let me respond to your thought there. Every generation has a problem with the next generation. Every generation thinks the next generation is soft. Every generation thinks the next generation has it too easy. Every generation thinks the next generation does dumb things. Yesterday, I had one of those moments, one of those I'm 40 now moments, because I was scrolling around YouTube. And I hung my 75, I hung it on the wall finally. I mounted my 75-inch and just, taking it for a test drive to make sure I had the right viewing angle and all that. I had YouTube on. And, I'm a YouTube Shorts guy. And I came across one, I don't know how it ended up in the old algorithm, but I came across one that was like a pop culture outlet. I'm sure it was connected to the fact that I was watching a bunch of trailers for different movies and whatnot. And this lady doing the report was like, well, person X has just started an online beef with person Y because they said that. And then it just sounded like they were speaking some Latin, like weird Latin I'd never heard of before, right? Like they were saying names and using words that I just went, the hell are you talking about? I don't know who any of these people are. I don't know what those words mean. And I had one of those moments where I went, God, the next generation sucks, dude. Like it sucks. If we had beef, you didn't go on Twitter. You went to their house and you knocked on the door and said, hey, you son of a you-know-what.
You're 47. What are you going to do?
The point is, I think that they handle their beef in a very dumb way, but they don't. They don't. That's how they handle it nowadays. Okay, fine, whatever. The whole mentality, the whole thought of these kids are getting paid now and they're all SAWFT soft. Here's my question. Are you looking at college football? You're telling me there's not one team that you think has heart? Not one team. You don't think the Oregon Ducks have heart right now? You don't think Ohio State has heart right now? You don't think Georgia's out there cracking skulls? You don't think Alabama took that L in week number 1 and has responded to it?
I'm not saying Joe thinks this way, but there are a lot of people who believe that these players never got paid. And those people are in a place where I probably would like to go there some because they get paid. They got paid on every level by boosters, by other things. Witnesses myself, even at Division III, you got paid when a dude's driving around a brand new Corvette and stuff like that. And from a dealership and all these kind of things. Listen, they were already getting paid. Just now we can see it.
I don't disagree, though. Obviously, it's not at the level that it is now. At least not for the. It is still set up as it was back then, where it was $500 handshakes, but they only went to the stars. Now the stars are getting millions of dollars, and everybody else gets $500 handshakes. I found a clip yesterday that, and again, I don't mean to call out, but at the same time, I'm going to point out when pointing out is necessary. I came across a clip from earlier this week when Cade Klubnik was talking to the media, and he didn't say like, I'm against NIL or whatever, but he was like, yeah, like NIL, once the season starts, it doesn't factor to me. It doesn't make a difference. It's that and the other. And I'm like, respectfully, I don't really care about the opinion on NIL of a dude who's making $3.4 million this year in NIL. That's his on-3 valuation. It's $3.4 million.
Good for him.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'm happy for him. Let's be real clear. My stance on his commentary on NIL doesn't take away that, hell yeah, buddy, get the bag. Like, yeah, I get it. I understand it. What I am saying is that I don't think, Joe, that is the reason that Clemson is where it is. And I'm not saying it never is. I'll tell you right now, and I've floated this theory a few times. I think Florida State last year, that is part of the reason that they were there. I think Florida State went 2-10 last year because after they went 13-0 and won the ACC title, and they started gearing up to try to go back-to-back to the playoffs. Well, not to the playoffs because they didn't go to the playoffs, but you get the point. They ended up going heavy in the transfer portal again. And I think it became very evident as the year went on, after, 3 weeks, when it became very obvious that Florida State's not a playoff team this year. I think there are a lot of guys in that locker room who started playing for me. They started playing for draft positioning. They started playing for NIL. They started playing for this. They started playing for that. I think that is very true. But to just assume that that is always why a team is underperforming, I don't think is fair. And I say that because there are a lot of very good football teams out there. Again, go watch. And they haven't played a high-level team. They will this weekend on the road at Penn State. But go watch any of the 3 games the Oregon Ducks have played so far, and tell me that's not a team that's playing with some guts. That's a team that got told before the year started, you've got to replace your quarterback. You've got to replace half your wide receiver room. We question your offensive line. You're not the same team. You're not them anymore. And here come the Ducks hanging 60s and 70s against people they're supposed to hang 60s and 70s against. If they go into Penn State and get a win this weekend over a team that a lot of people, myself included, have bought into being different this year. Big Game James will finally get it done this year. We'll see. If Oregon goes in there and gets this dub, I don't think any of us would be in a position where we question the heart of the Ducks. And if there is even one team out there who plays with gusto, who plays with heart, then that narrative doesn't work anymore. I'm not saying there are 0 teams out there that have lost the spirit of the game or the love of the game over money. I'm sure that there are. Again, I think Florida State last year is the example of that. I'm saying to run to the conclusion now, 4 weeks into the season, that is obviously why the wheels have come off. Not fair. I don't think that's fair. I don't. So I don't know, man. I don't know. If I got the chance to walk into Clemson's locker room this weekend, I'll tell you exactly what I would say. And I'm looking for you as well. If you got a chance to talk to the Clemson Tigers or the South Carolina Gamecocks this Saturday morning, whether it is on their film and practice Saturday on the bye week, or it's as they're getting dressed to get ready to go play the Wildcats of Kentucky, what would you say? I'll start with Clemson. Here's what I'll say. Fellas, you got too much talent for this. You've got too much talent in this locker room. You've got too much talent as individuals. You've got too much talent as a team to be where you are. And I'll tell you where we sit right now. We sit in a spot where you have just been outworked. Now, I think you've been outcoached, and that's on me. I'm going to get that fixed. We are going to have, as coaches, a long come to football Jesus meeting in the next day or two. And we are going to go over every single snap of the football from our 1-3 4 games so far. And I will promise you that coming up this Saturday, the play calling is going to be better. We will be taking better advantage of where we are. But we could have the greatest play calling of all time. We could call an absolute perfect game for you. If you guys are going to take to that field on Saturday, defensive line, if you are going to get pushed around by Syracuse, offensive line, if you are going to make Cade Klubnik run for his life, Cade, if you're going to freak out every time there's a little bit of pressure on you, we might as well just cancel the season. Because the one thing that I would expect, bad coaching, bad play calling, better opponents, worse opponents. The one thing I would never expect out of a Clemson Tiger football team is that we come out here, we look panicked, and we get pushed around as a response. And that's what happened to y'all in those 3 games. You look panicked, you got pushed around. So either stand up for your damn selves and show people that you are a bunch of badass D1 Clemson Tiger football players, or let me know that you're not going to do that, and I'll go ahead and start working the young guys in. Let me know that you're not going to go out there and stand up for yourselves, and I'll start playing the freshmen so that maybe 2 years from now, we don't suck like you do right now. Let's take a break. Your thoughts are welcome. What's your message to the team on the bye week, on the Kentucky week? Back after this on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate. Every year you look like you rip your players off a foosball table. That is a unique football insult, and I like it a lot, MD. Be right back, guys. rest, little refocus. South Carolina getting set to take on Kentucky, a game that I opened the show by saying, Gamecocks, steel yourselves. Because if you lose this game, you're not going bowling. You are going from sneak into the playoffs as our goal to we want to be bowl eligible. You won't be. This has to be a win to go bowling. I thought, what would I say if given the opportunity to talk to South Carolina? And it led me to a question that I would like to ask you guys, because I saw a conversation that over the past 2 or 3 days has really started to take shape in the sports world. Let me pull back the curtain on my industry just a little bit. As somebody who listens to and hears opinions from a lot of different places every day, I have come to one recognition about the industry that I am in, an industry that I love very much. And it is this. There are really a slim number of generators of original thoughts in this industry. Now, when I say original thoughts, I'm not talking about the hot take artist who just take whatever is the popular conversation at the moment and then spin it, come at it from the other angle for the sake of getting clicks. I'm talking about people who say things about sports that are genuinely thought-provoking. Things that you go, oh, I haven't considered that, or I need to go look at that, or I need to go check that out. But there's a conversation that is starting to spin up right now. And I know that it is because 1 or 2 people had the idea, and there was a recognizable pushback to the thought. And now there's a bunch of hot take artists who realize, oh, that argument's getting pushback, so let me amplify it for the sake of getting a reaction. I got to tell you, I heard this argument, and the fact that I was willing to hear it out and consider it kind of confused me a little bit. Like, I was confused that I heard this argument for the first time 2 days ago. I did not bring it up yesterday because my gut reaction was, I think this might be a little hot takey. And I would like to spend some time really thinking about if this has any merit to it at all before I propose it as a question to Clemson fans. But last night, got done doing some show prep, jumped on the old Xbox, was playing a little Baldur's Gate 3 with the fellas, and we were talking football while we were also running around killing a bunch of orcs and whatnot, because we're adults. Shut up. And one of my buddies, who is a Clemson fan, we were having this conversation. He brought it up, and that inspired me to go ahead and bring it up to you today. The thought that has been going around that I thought was a bit hot takey, and I thought a lot of people weren't running with it because they truly believed it, but were running with it because you Clemson fans reacted very strongly to it. And at the end of the day, my industry is not about bringing you great analysis, insight, and opinion. It's about getting you to react. React to me. Pay attention to me. That's our job. I'm going to ask the question. The thought that is going around right now is maybe Dabo Swinney's not really a good coach. Maybe Dabo Swinney was a guy who got very fortunate in that he was able to pair up 2 excellent coordinators in Tony Elliott and Brent Venables for a number of years. Remember, when those 2 guys got hired, Venables to Oklahoma, Tony Elliott to Virginia in the same offseason, a lot of Clemson fans have marked that that was the time that something changed. And on top of that, not only did they get hired, and a lot of Clemson fans I've spoken to said that's around the time the program changed, but at the same time, when those guys got hired, I was already here. I remember the conversation going around of, it is shocking it took this long. It is shocking it took that long for Brent Venables to get a head coaching opportunity unless he just did and didn't want them. It is shocking that long Tony Elliott took that long to get a head coaching opportunity unless he just did but didn't want to take them. It is shocking that these guys took this long to get head coaching opportunities. And it is not shocking that they both took them at the institutions they took them at. And so the theory that has been floated around a little bit is, let's be clear, Dabo Swinney, great guy, great human being. Nobody's questioning the character, the integrity, the morals. Nobody's questioning Dabo Swinney. He is a great dude. We're all on the same page. But what I have seen is questions about, is Dabo Swinney really just not a good coach?
All right. So this has been around since the beginning of him starting to play coach football, that he's just good at hiring coordinators. He's a great hype man. He's good at recruiting, but he doesn't really do much on Saturdays. That's been a thing since he first got hired. It was especially loud when they weren't taking that next step early on in his coaching career. And then once they started winning a bunch and winning national championships, it quieted down. But it's been there for a really long time.
I know that was a large part of the conversation when Dabo Swinney got hired in the first place. There are people going, like, can this guy coach? Right? Like, is he a good coach or not? And as we talked about way back on Monday.
I am curious, though. What is a head coach in college football? In your mind, what should they do? Are they the play caller? Are they a coordinator on one side or the other? Or are they just there to manage the other guys who they hired to run the offense or run the defense?
Well, I don't think you have to corner it down to it has to be done this way. I think Nick Saban.
I ask you how you thought of it.
I'm answering the question.
Okay. All right.
I don't think there is a right way to do it. I think that there are a lot of different ways that it can be done and be successful. Nick Saban had a very specific way of achieving success as a college football head coach. And Pete Carroll had a way of being a very successful head coach. Those two guys have nothing in common at all. Nothing in common at all. And the point is, I think when you look around, Ryan Day and Kirby Smart are different coaches. And they're different coaches than Kalen DeBoer, different coach from Mike Norvell, different. Everybody has their own thing. And for some people it works, and for some people it doesn't. But what I would say is there is one thing that is true across the head coaching universe of college football. At the end of the day, when there is an issue with the program, it is on one guy to get it fixed. There's one guy that's responsible for that, and it is the HC. And he can go about it however he wants to go about it. And my response is, what is a head coach supposed to do? A head coach is supposed to run the football program in a way that we aren't talking about what is the head coach supposed to do. That's what he's supposed to do. And so for a guy like Nick Saban was a dude who beat you on the recruiting trail. And Nick Saban was a guy who beat you by having the most disciplined football team on any given football field on any given Saturday. I don't think, I've said this 1,000 times to you guys, Nick Saban was not a great game day coach. I very much view Nick Saban as very similar in coaching style to Dabo Swinney. I don't think Dabo Swinney is a great Saturday X's and O's college football coach. I don't think he's a guy that looks on the football field on a Saturday, identifies problems within the game, and tinkers to make the changes. I think he leans on coordinators for that. But the reason that Dabo has always been able to be successful is not only having people in those roles who are good at doing that, but also beating you on the recruiting trail for a number of years. And if you are a coach, let's be real clear. If you are a coach whose play style is I'm going to beat you on the recruiting trail, you can still do that, but it's hard as hell now, man. Like, it's hard to do now. And so if that is your number one weapon, is we're just going to out-recruit you, I would say two things. Number one, that's tough, and it's tougher than it's ever been before. And the second thing I would say is obviously because of the portal and ability for players to transfer out. But I would also say, I do not think, and this is where I know a lot of you guys are getting exhausted by the portal conversation, but it is part of college football for everybody. It just happens to be we're talking about Dabo Swinney. If you are going to say we're a team that's going to beat you on the recruiting trail and we're going to have a bunch of guys that are all in and want to play their hearts out for the university, to exclude guys in the portal to fill in holes on the roster, you're going to get in trouble for that. So now that you are where you are and things are, listen, it's not that you're not undefeated. I think if we were talking about a 3-1 team that was behind the 8 ball with a loss to Tech, or maybe even a 2-2 team, if you had the loss to LSU and maybe you lose to Tech and you're sitting at 2-2 right now, then this conversation probably isn't as dramatic. But it's kind of like in the press conference earlier this week when Dabo said, why are we held to a different standard than all these other teams that haven't won anything? That's why, Dabo, because you've won a thing. In fact, you've won a bunch of things. And so the expectation has been raised by you. The standard has been raised by you. That's why people are questioning. So, with all of that being said, I heard the take the other day from somebody on TV. Well, it's from TV, but it made it to my social media. It doesn't matter. I heard the take the other day by somebody on TV who said, I am glad to see what is happening at Clemson because I think it is finally brought to light the fact that Dabo Swinney is not a good football coach. He's a good recruiter. He's a good motivator. He's a great hype man. If you need somebody to make you feel like you can take over the world, Dabo's the guy you want on the other end of the phone. But he's not a good football coach. And considering a lot of the problems that we have identified as problems through a 1-3 start, first time since 2014, considering a lot of the problems that we have identified as problems so far through this season, I can directly tie back to coaching. Is it fair for those people to have that theory? Is it fair for them to have the theory that maybe he's not a great coach? Maybe he was just a hell of a recruiter, and now that is more difficult to do than ever before, and now that he lost to elite coordinators in Elliott and Venables, it's all going downhill. All right, we'll talk more about that later on in the show. We got some NFL talk coming up. We start our weekend preview, all that and more after Lonzo gives you, if we had a sports flash playoffs, Lonzo's the 1 seed every year.
Definitely getting to buy. The Atlanta Braves win streak ends at 10 with a 4-3 loss to the Nationals. That was you'll understand. You will understand why later. Okay, you'll understand why later. Leave. Their win streak ends with a 4-3 loss to the Nationals yesterday. Atlanta had 6 hits, including home runs from Marcell Ozuna, Eli White, and Drake Baldwin, but went 0-for-11 with runners in scoring position. The Philadelphia Phillies locked up a first-round bye with 11-1 win over the Marlins last night. The 93rd win of the season ensures the Phillies open at home in the divisional series, which starts October 4th. Drew Brees and Larry Fitzgerald highlight the NFL's Hall of Fame class of 2026 nominees. 11 other players, including Phillip Rivers, Alex Smith, Greg Olsen, Jason Witten, Frank Gore, and LaShawn McCoy, were announced in their first year of eligibility. Our number 2 and the water cooler cheat sheet up next. I need an I Fight Hecklers t-shirt. That's what I need. Good morning, Cruz. Good morning to everyone.
Custodial supervisor at a high school, he knows that during cold and flu season, germs spread fast. It's why he partners with Granger to stay fully stocked on the products and supplies he needs, from tissues to disinfectants to floor scrubbers. All so that he can help students, staff, and teachers stay healthy and focused. Call 1-800-GRANGER, click Granger.com, or just stop by. Granger, for the ones who get it done.
Count on Sundays with the NFL on CBS and Paramount Plus.
There we go.
This week, it's a must-see matchup as Lamar and the Ravens visit Mahomes and the Chiefs.
Oh my goodness.
Visit ParamountPlus.com/NFL to get started today.
Ingles, low prices, love the savings. Did you know that Ingles sells a huge variety of organic items? Or that they run their own dairy? Or that they only serve USDA choice and prime meat? Or that they donate 3,956 meals a day to local food banks? Well, now you do. It's all in the bag. eBay has reinvented vehicle buying. From click to curb, everything's covered. Ever try to buy a car online and end up in a parking lot with a stranger and some blind trust? That era is over. Now with Secure Purchase, eBay isn't just where you find your car. It's where you buy it, start to finish. Title, financing, registration, delivery, it's all built in. This is the modern way to buy your next ride on eBay. eBay. Things people love. Secure Purchase is powered by Caramel Dealer Services, LLC, and eBay subsidiary.
This is the story of the month.
Apparently, Reba McEntire is a big Chiefs fan.
I think she's from Kansas.
It's why he partners with Granger.
Well, Kansas City plays in Missouri, so I mean,
Yeah, but it's on the state border.
I know.
I think everybody gets to claim them.
Call 1-800-GRANGER, click Granger.com, or just stop by. Granger, for the ones who get it done.
After a bye week, Furman football is back in action this Saturday, beginning 8 consecutive weeks of Southern Conference play. Hi, everybody. I'm Dan Scott. Join David Cobb, Tom Ben Hoy, and me for the broadcast of Furman at Sanford Saturday afternoon. Countdown to kickoff brought to you by Pepsi begins at 2 p.m. The kick is at 3:30. Furman opening Southern Conference play at Sanford, and you'll catch all the action, as always, on the Fan Upstate.
The Fan.
Upstate.
WYRD Greenville.
WORD Spartanburg.
WFBC HD3 Greenville.
W249DL Greenville.
W246CB Spartanburg.
Upstate.
And Odyssey Sports Station.
Man, check this out.
You're on official Rob Brown lockdown.
Represents being a winner.
Yeah.
The Rob Brown Show back on your radio. It is the Fan Upstate. Rob Brown, the Great Wilonzo, and you with you every AM from 6 until 10. And we are glad to have you here as part of the radio broadcast. I am asking you, and this is not meant to poke the bear, but it has become such an extensive conversation over the past couple of weeks.
I don't have bear noise, so
I don't either.
It's Fat Bear Week, right?
Oh, no, I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's Fat Bear Week.
Fat Bear Week's a remarkable week on the internet.
There's some tubbies going on. There's some really big fat bears.
Fat Bear Week is one of the greatest weeks of the year on the internet. And on top of that, it is what I refer to as eye bleach. That is to say, like, the internet sucks so much all of the time and is creating such a toxic atmosphere that sometimes it's just nice to cleanse the air. And Fat Bear Week is a great, great week for that. It's like I don't remember who it is that does it, but it's like the Alaska State Park, or it's the U.S. National Park Commission. And basically they have all their webcams up. The bears are all getting fat before they go into their winter hibernation, and they just get video of fat bears rolling around. I think it's Alaska, and post them, and then everybody votes on who their favorite fat bear is. It's an incredible week. It's one of my favorite things. There's also a webcam that's up right now that is overlooking a river in Alaska somewhere, and you can watch the bears salmon fish. It's unbelievable. Like, you want to talk about just absolute zen? It's the best. All right, so I asked this AM, and the reason I say asked, I am doing something I am not supposed to do right now. I am, by rule of radio, not supposed to ask you your opinion. I'm supposed to give you mine and ask for your reaction to it. But I'm asking for your opinion. And the reason that I'm asking for your opinion this AM is because I'm having a hard time formulating mine right now, which I'm also not supposed to do. Even if I don't have one, I'm supposed to make one up and stand by it. That's not my style, but I'm having a real difficult time with this one. There is a debate raging around the college football internet right now. And the debate that is raging around the college football internet right now is Dabo Swinney being exposed as not a great coach? Is he being exposed by having a lack of coordinators who actually coach the football team while he recruits well, retains well, and motivates well? I don't know the answer to that, because I think you saw after the loss to Syracuse this weekend, I do think that this is emotionally troubling to Dabo Swinney. But one of the things that has always been a hallmark of Dabo Swinney has been, even when things aren't going the way that he wants them to, he has always been a guy that seems like he's able to grab a mic, give the old rah-rah shish boom bah pep talk, and everybody goes, we're fine. We're fine. That's been a war cry of mine for many, many, many years. When things go bad.
Sorry, you said war cry, and I thought you wanted the Clemson war cry.
I did not. There have been many times where things have gone back-asswards in my life. And there are two catchphrases that have got me through it. The first one is the one my old man used to say, which is stay focused, which is why I have it tattooed on my arm. And the other one is, it's fine. And I'm not saying it's fine like, oh, it's fine. Like, roll your eye out, it's fine. I'm talking about to genuinely look at a troubling situation that you are in, recognize the spots where you can take control of it and say, it's fine. And then make it work. That's always kind of been a Dabo Swinney thing, to look at you and go, not just is it fine, it's fine. We took an L. We're not where we wanted to be. We didn't perform the way we wanted, but it's fine. And here's how we roll on from here. And on Saturday, I did not see a guy with the mentality of, it's fine. I saw a guy with the mentality of, I'm not well. I'm not in a good spot right now. I got him out there, looked like if he wasn't actually shedding them, on the verge of tears during the alma mater.
See, that's the thing. I haven't really watched him during the alma mater that much. Maybe that's what he normally looks like doing it.
I don't think so.
And maybe he decided to focus into it because he looked forlorn for sure.
Well, that's a good word.
I know.
That's a good word. He did look forlorn.
It's my first time throwing that up on the air.
That's good work. That's good work. He did look forlorn. And I think that is probably the reason why this debate has started to pop up around social media, because Saturday looked like the first time, and I know he tried to rescue a little bit when he got to the podium in the postgame press conference. I know he tried to rescue it a little bit, and I respect that. But I also think between 2 or 3 different, I'm going to use this word, I want you to know, this isn't a negative to me. I like when my coach has got a little gas on the sideline, all right? I like when my coach is willing to get up in somebody's face and get a little hype on the sideline. So the word sideline meltdown that's not a negative by default to me. It can be if you are melting down and not doing anything to change the circumstances, then yeah, at that point, then it's a problem. But if it's a meltdown and it is part of your coaching to make the team play better or things go your way, then I don't have an issue with it. But man, there was that roughing the passer call against Clemson. That, guys, I'm sorry, it was a textbook roughing the passer. It was textbook. The guy came over the top, dropped the helmet, hit the quarterback with the crown after the ball had been released while he was already wrapped up by another player. It was a textbook roughing the passer.
And that was a textbook Clemson play.
I mean, I don't even think, like, for the intents of this purpose, I don't think we have to go down the path. I think it wasn't that it was over-aggressive. It was trying to get to and rack the quarterback, good with all that. Like, I want physicality. But it was a textbook roughing the passer. And it's not about the play, because in that moment, listen, I'll take anything at that moment where players are out there flying around the football field trying to make a bleeping play. I'll take anything at that point. But then they show the camera on the sideline. Dabo is losing his ever-loving mind about that call. And I'm like, on one hand, I get it because it's a bang-bang play, and from his vantage point, maybe it didn't look like it. But it was absolutely, and I called it real time. I'm like, oh, that's roughing the quarterback. As soon as the pop came, I'm like, that drop the helmet. That's roughing the quarterback. And he's losing his mind.
And maybe it could be in years past they've gotten away with that, and so he cannot believe that he's not getting away with that anymore. That's just my perspective and the perspective of many others. Trust me.
It might be. The reality is, regardless of why it happened, in a moment where I need the guy on the sideline wearing the biggest headset to gather the team around him and go, hey, let's focus, let's dial in. I was getting the opposite. I was getting a meltdown at the officials about a call that can't be changed. Like, instead of getting up with the defense and going, here's what's next, guys. Right? Like, all right, it's not us. Here's what's next. So the question going around right now, and I'll take your thoughts on it this morning. And I make it a question, not a statement, because I haven't decided where I land on it yet. Is Dabo Swinney being exposed as a guy who's not a good coach, but had great coordinators, and because you can't just recruit and retain a roster that's 3 deep of NFL guys, now that actually coaching is more important, is that a problem? And the reason I ask that is because if the answer to that is yes, then the Clemson dynasty is over, at least in the way that it has been constructed the last couple of years. All right, it is 7:09 in the morning. You've got about 51 minutes until you've got to get to the office. So let us help you out, because you're going to try to kill time. You're going to try to figure out, how do I waste time until Thursday Night Football kicks off tonight? Well, a good way to do that is to spend your entire day not working, but actually talking sports. And if you've got to talk sports at work to kill some time, you got to know what's going on. And if you've got to know what's going on, you've come to the right place, because we do this.
Are you ready for the playbook of the peculiar, the almanac of the absurd, and the encyclopedia of the extraordinary? Well, you better be, because we're diving headfirst into the 3 top stories that will have your coworkers saying,
"No kind of Sanders, you're wrong."
Before they take their first bathroom break.
No.
Here we go. Welcome to the water cooler cheat sheet on the Fan Upstate.
It is the water cooler cheat sheet, the top 3 sports stories you need to know before you get to the office and start talking sports this morning with your coworkers, your manager, your boss, your supervisor, your janitor, your IT guy, whoever it is you spend your time talking sports with. This is what you'll be talking about. Allow us to dive right in with item number 1. Compiling all the baseball stories into a baseball item here on the show. The Braves lose their first game in the last 11, a 10-game. Sorry, let me say it the way Zoe said it. The Braves win. Streak is over at 10.
Again, when this show is over, you'll understand.
I'm assuming that means I left a comma in a weird place.
You'll have to wait, won't you?
No, I don't. I have the flash right here. I can go find out.
That is, again,
the Atlanta Braves win streak ends at 10 with a 4-3 loss to the Nationals yesterday. Or did you change it?
By the way, if you guys, and I wish that you would watch the entire show on stream. When I talk about something at the end of the show, the light bulb. You will see
Okay.
a physical light bulb appear above his head, and you will understand.
I look forward to it. All right, baseball stories in item number 1. The Braves do lose last night. Bryce Elder had a stellar game. 5 hits, 3 runs allowed, K'd 7 through 7, but still took the L, which is pretty common this year for the Atlanta Braves. Pitcher goes out, has a gem of a game, but gets tagged with the L because he allowed 3 whole runs because the offense only got 6 hits on the night. 3 of them were dongs, including one from Greenville native Eli White, who got himself another home run last night, as did rookie Drake Baldwin, who I'm not saying is a lock for your Major League Rookie of the Year, but he should be. The Braves drop their game. They have 3 regular season games remaining. Those 3 games are tomorrow night and then Saturday and Sunday against the Pittsburgh Pirates. In other baseball news, Cal Raleigh has hit home runs number 59 and 60, and in the same game, the Seattle Mariners have clinched the AL West, became the 7th player in Major League history to hit 60 home runs in a season, a pair of solo shots in the 9-2 win over the Rockies. Raleigh said, quote, "It's crazy 60 is. I don't know what to say. I didn't know if I was going to hit 60 in my life just tonight. What a way to do it." As the Mariners have locked in the AL West. We will get to what your playoff bracket looks like here in just a second. The Cleveland Guardians were down 15.5 games 2 months ago in their division. Now they're in charge of their division, took over sole possession of the top spot in the division with another come-from-behind victory last night, sending the Tigers to their 8th consecutive loss. It was also the Guardians' 17th victory in 19 games. One team on a hot streak, one team on a skid, and it cost the Tigers the lead in the division, now fighting for a wildcard spot despite holding the best record in baseball for a good chunk of the season. Aaron Judge got to 50 home runs last night, tying a record as he did it for the 4th time. Judge delivered his 50th home run with a 3-run shot to right center off of Jonathan Cannon, gave the Yankees a 3-1 lead. The only major leaguers to record 4 seasons with at least 50 home runs: Aaron Judge, Sammy Sosa, Mark McGwire, Babe Ruth. It's a pretty good list. Stand and rise. No, sorry. What is it? All stand, all rise, all rise. Here comes the Judge. Here comes the Judge. And the Phillies.
You deserve every problem that you're having right now.
Yeah, that one was a struggle. And the Phillies last night hit 8 home runs in an 11-1 victory over the Miami Marlins. The bats come alive, and what a perfect time. Now the Philadelphia Phillies have clinched a first-round bye, so they will not play until the division round. We are going to talk about some baseball later in the show, and fingers crossed, be joined tomorrow on the broadcast by former MLB player Cody Decker to take a look and get his thoughts on the MLB playoff brackets, which will be fully and finally set on Sunday, the final day of the regular season. Let's get to item number 2. This one, a real quick one. I do think it is important because it is an absolute icon and legend of the sports world doing something special. Lionel Messi's very good at soccer. 2 goals last night as Inter Miami was able to get a big win over New York FC. It is Lionel Messi's 5th time in the last 9 games. Scratch that. 2 or more goals in 8 of the past 12 Inter Miami matchups, becomes the 4th player in MLS history to record multiple goals in just 8 games in a single season. One more joins an even more elite group. More importantly, this team now looks to A, secure the 2025 Supporters Shield for best regular season record, and B, Inter Miami now locked into the MLS playoffs. Let's get to item number 3. We're going to keep these brief, both because we are right up against the break, A, and B, because we are going to be talking about these 2 stories during the course of this hour. First and foremost, a lawsuit filed by Indiana starting saver Lewis Moore has been given the thumbs up. Moore filed a lawsuit back in early August challenging the NCAA's 5-year eligibility rule. He made the argument that his 3 years at Navarro Junior College in Texas should not count against his NCAA eligibility. According to a court document filed yesterday, Judge Dale Tillery ruled the NCAA's eligibility rule violated the Texas Antitrust Act. Moore leads IU with 23 tackles, 2 picks, and 2 picks returned for 41 yards. Here's the interesting thing about the story. Attended Navarro from 2019 to 22, played football there, redshirted, was injured, went to Indiana, played 2022 and 23. After his second season at IU, transferred to Ole Miss, played his third season of NCAA football last year with the Runnin' Rebels, then went back into the portal, transferred back to Indiana, filed the lawsuit. A stay was issued allowing him to play until a judge said you can't play no more. Instead, the judge in Texas says this violates antitrust rules. You can play one more year. This is interesting because the question is going to be, where is the line, though? If the 5-year eligibility rule violates the antitrust set, then what can the NCAA do? Or can guys just play college football as long as they are in college? Could we end up with 32-year-old men? Now, the answer to this, I don't think, is yes. I think down the line, probably sooner rather than later, we are going to have someone establish a line. And this is part of where I think the unionization and federal involvement comes in. We'll talk about that later. But this is a very interesting lawsuit victory. We'll talk about this one later. And this one we're talking about in the next segment. College football playoffs format not changed. The committee met yesterday for 4 hours of a regularly scheduled business session. The expectation was that there would be a long conversation about the possibility of changing the 12-team playoff, be it to 14, 16, 18, maybe 24 or 28, as the Big Ten, I do not think, did so seriously. I think it was a power play to the SEC, but suggested earlier in the year. According to Heather Dinich, the committee talked about it for 20 minutes and decided to do nothing. Now, part of the reason is they have time. They do not have to make a change and file that change with ESPN, who owns the rights to broadcast the college football playoff, until December 1st. So they do still have all of October and all of November to make a change, to file that change with ESPN by December 1st. But yesterday expected to have a long conversation. For some reason, they did not. I think I know what that reason is, and I'll tell you what that reason is when we come back. We got to talk some college football playoffs. We'll do that on the next set. We'll talk about that lawsuit. We got to get to some NFL. And, of course, we start breaking down this weekend's hot and spicy sports action as we roll on through a Turn to Page Thursday. The Rob Brown Show's on your radio. I'm Rob. He's Lonzo. You are an amazing person. Don't let anybody tell you different. Back after this on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate. All right, guys, stay right there. I got to record some audio. We will be right back. right, amigos y amiguettes, we back. Thanks for hanging in there. Anybody in the chat with some thoughts? MD, I'm coming to your Shane Beamer take a little bit later on in the show because I also got a very long email that I was really particularly interested in that I want to get to. And it's a theory from a listener.
People send really long emails?
Oh, yeah. I got 2 or 3 guys that I'm almost kind of doing a show via email with some guys that email regularly with like takes, like long takes. I brought a couple to the show in the past.
You know what really sucks is when you have a really bad earache and you drink something cold and it hurts like right down in here.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you've had that.
Mm-hmm.
That's not.
I also have this thing where I think, scratch that, I know I'm getting old because now I'm at the point where if I drink something that's too cold, my teeth hurt bad. And like I have to, per my dentist, I have to switch to Sensodyne toothpaste now. That's where I'm at in my life. I am now heating pad and Sensodyne guy. I would complain about being Metamucil guy, but I'm going to tell you, I've said it 1,000 times and I mean it. Buddy, fiber supplement has changed my life for the better.
You were warned.
I know.
You were warned. It just.
But it's kind of like, it's kind of one of those like.
Was it there and you didn't notice?
One of those won't happen, like these things won't happen to me kind of mentalities, right?
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people feel that.
The College Football Playoff Committee met yesterday for over 4 hours in a regularly scheduled business meeting, just going over everything, making sure we're all good set up before the college football playoffs start up here. They'll be upon us before you know it. It is almost October already. It feels like week 1 was 2 days ago, and now we're in October. I mean, we're not in October, but we're close enough to say we're in October sarcastically. They met for over 4 hours yesterday to make sure that they're all where they need to be heading to the playoffs. One of the items that was on the agenda was a discussion about potential expansion of the college football playoff from 12 teams to question mark amount of teams. Could it be 14 teams? We give a couple of buys. Could it be 18 teams? We give 4 buys. Could it go to 16 teams? We have no buys. Could it go to, as the Big Ten suggested, and what I do think was a negotiation tactic a few weeks ago, go to 24 or 28 teams in the playoff? No decision was reached yesterday. Rich Clark, the executive director of the college football playoffs, said yesterday, in fact, not only did no expansion talk happen in a manner that leads him to believe that expansion is being taken as a for granted at this point, but Rich Clark said, quote, "My sense is the room is comfortable with that being staying at 12 teams for at least one more year. My sense is the room is comfortable with that if that's where we go, and why they're probably not too pressed with rushing to a decision. If they can find time to have a discussion and make a discussion, they want to have that opportunity." Now, this is really interesting that you would say if they can find time to have that discussion. Rich, you just had a 4-hour meeting. And I suspect if you had a 4-hour meeting that included athletic directors and presidents and chancellors and business people from all over the country that flew to Dallas, Texas to have that meeting. Sorry, I lied. This was in Rosemont, Illinois, the wonderful vacation destination of Rosemont, Illinois.
You're dissing Rosemont. You have no idea where Rosemont is.
Yeah, neither do you.
I do. It's in Illinois.
Yeah, I got that one too, off of the clue of context of it being called Rosemont, Illinois. So, if they came to Rosemont, Illinois for a meeting, they very clearly had time because otherwise they're not going to Rosemont, Illinois. Anyway, put that aside.
I think that this proves that it's not really, it's important to fans and people to talk about, oh, they're going to expand, but it doesn't appear to be important to them.
So I think that there is a reason. Actually, I think there is a couple of reasons that, it's right outside of Chicago. Never mind. They got to go have some hot dogs in Chicago. I think there are a couple of reasons that this has not expanded. I think the first one has to do with the conferences themselves. Because if expansion is going to happen, it has to obviously be approved by the conferences that are in league with the College Football Playoff Committee. Most importantly, it has to be signed off on by the Big Ten and the Southeastern Conference, as we have ended up in a world where those two conferences, by and large, get to dictate what everybody else is going to do in the landscape of college football. Now, I actually, as negative as the way that I just said that sounded, I kind of understand that, because at the end of the day, for me, I do think that is the first step to something that is going to long-term be required for this sport, which is uniformity across it. The ACC did not go to a 9-game conference slate just for inventory. They did go for inventory on television, let's be very clear. But I also think they went to a 9-game slate because they recognize, even for a league that is probably in a few years going to be struggling to stay alive, when Florida State, Clemson, probably Miami, probably Duke and North Carolina all leave the conference to go to one of the two bigger conferences, and those conferences become those super conferences we talked about. Uniformity matters now so that they can try and be as close to those conferences as they can in every way, shape, and form, so that if there is a piece of artillery added to their armament later, they're not having to play from behind and go, oh, now we got to change everything now because now we've got to fight. Like, just be ready for the fight. Even if no fight shows up, you'd rather be ready for the fight than not be ready. And if you have to change your league on a dime and try to fight for survival, that's not going to work. It's also about television inventory. Anyway, I think one of the reasons, in fact, I would even go so far as to say my suspicion that the reason that this did not only not get changed yesterday, no votes, no straw poll, no nothing. Not only do I think that there is multiple reasons, I do think there is one primary reason. And I think the one primary reason here is I think the Southeastern Conference and the Big Ten recognize that their influence over the direction that this goes, they would be giving away a bargaining chip if they were to have a format change now. And how do I know that? Why do I arrive at that conclusion? Well, the answer is because, first off, the Big Ten's already used it as a bargaining chip. Remember, the Big Ten was trying to force a number of weeks ago the Southeastern Conference, which they have acquiesced, were trying to force the Southeastern Conference to move to a 9-conference game slate. Why did the Big Ten want that to happen? Because they already did that. And the belief was, well, if we have to play 9 conference games and we have one of the baddest 2 conferences in football, then for us to be on equal footing and have the same level of challenge and degree of difficulty to get teams into the playoffs, we need you guys playing the same number of tough conference games that we have to play in the Big Ten. And when the SEC initially didn't say no, but they just didn't jump to yes, the Big Ten jumped in and said, all right, well, here's the deal. While you may be the more powerful of the 2 conferences, when we sit at that table, you and I are basically on the same footing. We have the same influence and power at that table. And we will bring to a vote 24 or 28 teams in the playoffs. Now, yes, that would probably open up room for the Big Ten to the SEC to get more teams. But more importantly than that, what that would do is provide a bargaining chip to the ACC and the Big 12, who are not going to, and I'll make this call, I hope that I'm wrong about this in the long term, but I'm going to go ahead and sneaky suspect make a prognostication for, I don't know, the rest of my natural born life. The ACC and the Big 12 will never get as many teams into any college football playoff as the SEC and the Big 10 do. They didn't do it when they were at 4. I mean, they got as many because you could get 1 in. And sometimes those conferences got 1. But when we expanded past 4 to 12, we hit the point where the Big 12, the ACC, and of course, obviously, all the other smaller conferences would never be able to get the same number of teams in as the Big 10 and the SEC, which means they'll never make as much money as the Big 10 and the SEC. However, if they go to 24 or 28 teams in the college football playoff, something that just, once again, to be very clear, I don't think was ever a reality, That would mean the SEC or the ACC, the Big 12, and the rest of the conferences would have more spots available to get more teams in and therefore make more money. Well, they would say yes to that. And if the Big 10 floats that proposal and gets consensus from every other conference at the table, they could probably strong-arm the SEC into having to go with that system. So I don't think that this is a desire from the conferences not to expand the playoffs, certainly not from the Big 10 and the SEC, because more playoff spots means more SEC and Big 10 teams in, because as we have already seen one time, Florida State University, they will bend over backwards to get the biggest television teams into the playoff bracket. This is entertainment after all. So I think that the reason we are not expanding now is twofold. Number one, why not jump till we have discussions? Now, they could have had more discussions than they had in 20 minutes out of 4 hours, but we'll come back to that. Number two, they don't have to make a decision now. They've got 6 more days in this month. They've got all of October. They've got all of November. If they are going to make a shift, they do not have to sign on to it until December 1st. So they got over 2 months remaining. No need to jump now. But I think the third reason it hasn't moved, and part of the reason Rich Clark may be saying nobody is necessarily jumping or jumping mad about keeping it at 12. Here's the thing. Even if we don't shift next year, it doesn't hurt the Big 10. It doesn't hurt the SEC. They're still going to have more than everybody else. So what does that allow the Big 10 to do? They keep that bargaining chip in front of them on the table. And the SEC has a similar bargaining chip. It's a little different, but they have a similar bargaining chip. Neither of these teams, as good negotiators would, is going to give away a bargaining chip for no reason. So we'll see how this plays out. We'll talk more about this if you want to. The Rob Brown Show is on your radio. It is the Fan Upstate. Hey, hey, hey. Morning, Cruz. BRB, dudes.
announced 2 drivers, and they showed one with the helmet on. I was like, that's Joe
Dude,
Henry.
but that visor raise
Yeah,
was
yeah.
perfect.
Yeah, it was good.
I am asking you this AM for your participation in a Turn the Page Thursday. I am asking for your participation in one particular conversation, and the conversation is this. If you were given the opportunity, if you got a phone call from your athletic director this morning at either Clemson or South Carolina, whichever school you happen to be a fan of, if you received a phone call from your athletic director this AM, and they said, we've seen your work, we know who you are, you're a super fan. So we would like to give you the opportunity, unbridled and uncensored, as we can get away with on the radio, to come in and to give a speech to the team this Saturday. Clemson on the bye. You will go into their locker room. You will stand in front of the team as they get prepared for practice. South Carolina, you will go into the locker room and you will give the pregame speech before the Gamecocks take the field against Kentucky. What would that sound like to you? What would you say? What is the emphasis? I've gone to a couple of different places. With Clemson, I have said the first thing I would do is not speak to the players. The first thing I do would be speak to the coaches. It would be speak to Dabo. It would be speak to Garrett Riley. It would be speak to Tom Allen. And I would have a message for each of them individually. For Garrett Riley, it would be, if you got any guts, ignore everything Dabo tells you about what to do on offense this week and run your offense. Run your offense. Run the offense you ran at TCU. Unchain this offense. Move your line around. Take advantage of the fact that Adam Randall, a guy that I was beating up on earlier in the season, is kind of turning into a dude game by game. Take advantage of the strengths. Run your offense. Ignore everything Dabo says about how to run not Garrett Riley's offense, but the Clemson offense. For Tom Allen, I would ask a question. Can you please explain to me how and why it is that you have a defense, specifically a front seven, that is loaded with guys who were expected to be NFL high round, first day, second day draft picks, and yet 2 quarterbacks, largely considered mid-tier. I don't. Haynes King's a dog and Angeli is a dog, but 2 guys considered mid-tier quarterbacks overall were able to slice you up, man. Can you explain to me how these guys are getting time to stand in the pocket behind the offensive line of Georgia Tech and Syracuse? Now, you look and you go, wait a minute here, dude. Wait a minute here. Georgia Tech's offensive line it's been Brent Key's focus, A, and B, Brent Key is an offensive lineman and was a good one. It makes sense their offensive line is good. I'm not disagreeing with that, but your defensive line is supposed to be better with a bunch of draft picks on it. How is Georgia Tech able to create issues for you? Syracuse doesn't have Brent Key or the offensive line roster of Georgia Tech, and yet it felt like Cade Klubnik is panicky. Garrett, you call to prevent that out of Cade Klubnik. Tom Allen, you call it to where whoever is across from you at quarterback moving forward is scared for their lives in the face of a bunch of NFL dudes. Then I would talk to the players. And the conversation with the players would effectively be, look, you're not where you wanted to be, and I get that. It's disappointing. And I'm going to keep it a buck, fellas. It is on us. And this isn't the coaching cliche of, oh, we lost the game. Let's give them a bunch of credit. But, we went out there and we beat ourselves today, which is just what you say as a coach when you lose. Primarily because if you lose, the blame gets put on you as a coach. I'm saying it with every ounce of genuine that I have in my body. It's on us. It's on you. You look like, right? Let me tell you what they're saying out there in Fansville. Do you mind? Let me tell you what they're saying in Fansville. This team's got no heart. This team's got no guts. Your own fans right now, and I say this because I'm in the discussion, Clemson fans right now are saying this team's got no heart, got no guts, got no motivation. And maybe it's because you expected better, and by week 3, it was obvious you're not going to get there. Maybe it's because you genuinely thought that you were just going to walk onto football fields this year because you were the consensus ACC champ by everybody who picked one, and you were a consensus playoff pick. And maybe you just thought you were going to roll the orange helmet out there and teams were going to lay down for you. Whatever the reason is, you're doing this to yourself, and now your own fans are saying you don't have any heart. So are we going to go out there and change that narrative, or are we not? South Carolina, same conversation with the coaches. Mike Shula, in what world is Lenora Sellers a pocket passer quarterback to you? In what world is this a guy that should be taking a 3, a 5, a 7-step drop and standing in the pocket and climbing the pocket as if he's Drew Brees or Tom Brady? He's not. He's not. Do you remember the games last year where Lenora Sellers got onto the map? Why did he get onto the map, Mike Shula? He got onto the map because if there was anything wrong, he could take off running left, he could take off running right, and he could still drop dimes. Why aren't we doing that? On the defensive side of the football, I'm not asking you guys to go out there and pitch shutouts. I know we've had a drop in talent. I'll say it to your face. However, you know what I am upset about? Why is it that when Missouri's running back is showing you he's a tough S of a B, why are we arm tackling? Why are we lawn dart tackling where we are throwing our body into a do with the shoulder? Why are we not wrapping up and driving to the ground? Well, but this is basic football. This is stuff that if I was coaching a middle league team and they played like you guys, I'd sit their ass. You are playing like a bunch of defenders that I would rather sit on the bench and take an L than have go out there and get stomped like you got stomped by a running back from Mizzou. What are we doing? And then the boys, same situation. You know, one of the things I never thought I'd question was the heart of this team. That's supposed to be your thing. It's very similar. But here's the last thing, and then we got to get a phone call before we go to a break. It is very odd to me. No, it's not. It's not odd. It's just odd that it's these two teams I say this about. It is very odd to me that when I sat last night and said, all right, I better have my speeches ready to go if I'm asking for the fans to get involved with theirs. It is very odd to me that when I drew conclusions, aren't they kind of the same for both teams? Aren't they kind of the same for the both teams? For both teams, it is disappointing that I never thought I'd question your heart. It is disappointing that your fans are. It is disappointing that you tackle poorly. It is disappointing that your offensive play calling is absolutely not playing to the strengths. In fact, if anything, I'd say are playing to the weaknesses of the personnel on the field. Is it just me? Or are the problems between these two disappointed schools eerily similar? All right, your AD called you this morning. You're talking to your team on Saturday. What are you saying? 844-326-3663, 844-FANFONE. Who we got, Lonzo?
We have Joey.
Joey, welcome back to the show, big fella. Good to have you.
Appreciate it, guys.
No worries.
So your take earlier, or your question earlier about helping you form an opinion about Dabo.
Yes.
I don't know why anybody's opinion changed from him. He's the same guy that was hired. He wasn't an X and O's guy back then. They never won, had a great record until Tony Elliott, Jeff Scott, and Brent Venables came around. That was the perfect mesh, the perfect situation for Clemson to explode. Those three guys are gone. And if you look at when they left, a la 2021-ish, we haven't done anything since. It's just a matter of finding the right coordinators and letting Dabo trust them like he trusted the previous three. He doesn't trust what he has, and he hasn't since they all left.
I don't think that is unfair, Joey, to the point that I've leaned on the comment from Dabo Swinney when Garrett Riley showed up a couple of years ago when he was asked, hey, man, how do you feel Garrett Riley's offense fits within what Clemson has done historically? And Dabo said, and I may not have the quote perfect, but it's pretty close, Joey. He said, he's not here to run the Garrett Riley offense. He's here to run the Clemson offense. Well, I said it then, and then it kind of went away, but I'll say it again now. Then why'd we get the guy? Why would you get a guy who's to call plays, whose offense at TCU was a lot different less predictable, more wide open. Why would you hire that guy instead of finding an OC that knows how to play call with what you have on the football field? A, and B, you put so much tape down over the years. Don't you think at some point, Joey, everything goes stale? Everything in the world eventually goes stale. Doesn't it feel like you're kind of at that breaking point? And if the answer to that question is no, then we do have a problem with Dabo Swinney.
Oh, I 100% agree. That interview from when he hired Garrett Riley has played nonstop in my head for 4 years.
Yeah, and I understand why. Joey, I appreciate it, big fella. Good thought. Appreciate you chiming in. Again, like, I have asked, the reason I say I've asked this question and not formed an opinion, I do have an opinion. And the opinion is, yeah, I think Dabo Swinney is over-involved in what is happening on the football field. And this is part of the reason I'm asking this question of Clemson fans. The reason I'm asking this question is because I am intrigued by your thoughts. Is Dabo Swinney a coach who has leaned on recruiting and has leaned on retention and has leaned on being a great motivator that you don't trust as a great X's and O's guy who leaned on coordinators? Because if the answer to that is yes, then I do not see why you would go out, hire the most sought after offensive coordinator, certainly of that cycle, maybe of the last few cycles, and then put the handcuffs on him. Like, and if we know that you are a coach who has leaned on the coordinators, and again, I'm not saying that's 100% true. I'm saying everything looks like it is. If you're a dude who was carried to greatness, and I shouldn't say carried because, like, you found these guys, you hired these guys, you put them in the office. If the team is successful because of offensive coordinators and defensive coordinators, the head coach gets credit for that. He's the guy that puts them in those offices. Finding the right personnel to work under you is part of being successful as a boss, supervisor, manager, owner, whatever. Finding the right people, putting them in the right jobs, and allowing them to do those jobs successfully is part of being a successful manager, boss, owner, whatever. So that's kind of the thought here of why would you go get a guy who doesn't run your offense? And there is some thought out there that TCU team that he took to the national championship and obviously got hammered by Georgia, but that TCU team that he took to the national championship game, there is an argument that has been made that Garrett Riley wasn't really as responsible for that offensively as what everybody else has said he was. I don't actually agree with that. I think he is responsible for that run, specifically what that offense did to get to the national championship game. But if you're going to bring him there, and if you're going to say you're the guy for that job, and we all, at this point, I think to some degree know that you have leaned on your coordinator in years gone by, then why would you bring him there and handcuff him? This is what I think is problem number one for Clemson. Spartanburg J texts the show, said, Rob, I'm not saying Clemson has no heart, no dogs, because my football feelings are hurt. It's because Clemson has no dogs. That's from Spartanburg J. See, I'm not saying they have no dogs because my feelings are hurt. I'm saying they have no dogs because they got no dogs on defense, specifically. Like I said, that's kind of one of those abstract criticisms that are subjective. It's kind of hard to, from the outside looking in, go, that team's got no heart, no motivation. But I have heard it from about 1,000 different Clemson fans, and I absolutely do feel that way. Tex says Dabo's simply trying to keep what worked from 2016 to 2020 intact, so he's doing it all himself and not trusting the change that will actually be beneficial. That's kind of a popular take right now. Kind of a popular take. All right, let's take a break. When we come back, the lovely and effervescent Lulu Kesson will join the show. We'll talk to her about South Carolina, talk to her about the Kentucky game upcoming. Then we got your audio blitz, and we'll talk a whole bunch of football. But I also want to talk Ryder Cup baseball and more. Speaking of Ryder Cup baseball and more, those are all very different sports. All of them have news that you will find in this Sports Flash.
Also, stay tuned for the Fight Club. He won't promote it, I will. The Atlanta Braves win streak ends at 10 with a 4-3 loss to the Nationals yesterday. Atlanta had 6 hits, including home runs from Marcell Ozuna, Eli White, and Drake Baldwin, but went 0 for 11 with runners in scoring position. The Philadelphia Phillies locked up a first-round bye with an 11-1 win over the Marlins last night. The 93rd win of the season ensures the Phillies open at home in a divisional series, which starts October 4th. Drew Brees and Larry Fitzgerald highlight the NFL's Hall of Fame class of 2026 nominees. 11 other players, including Phillip Rivers, Alex Smith, Greg Olson, Jason Witten, Frank Gore, and LaShawn McCoy were announced in their first year of eligibility. Nothing makes you feel more old than watching people that you saw play when they were in college and their entire NFL career be eligible for the Hall of Fame.
had the realization of what had just happened. And that's when the whole run of jokes started.
By the way, Steven, this is a sick Wyatt 6 shirt, but Rob never notices what I'm wearing, so I don't really need help. I'm good.
The Rob.
Oh, yeah.
Damn it.
Oh, yeah.
What's that, 2-1?
I believe so.
Son of a gun. And it's Thursday. We're running out of time here.
What's this wee stuff?
The Rob Brown Show back on your radio. It is the fan upstate. Rob Brown, the great one, Lonzo. And now, ladies and gentlemen, the segment of the show you have all been waiting for. It's 8 o'clock on a Thursday. So we brave the rain and thunderstorms that I see developing on the horizon.
That's pretty mean looking. It is. Be careful out there.
Indicative of what I'm sure are some of the emotions floating around Columbia, South Carolina. However, even when the storm is dark, we can turn to our lighthouse, our beacon, to talk South Carolina Gamecock football here on the show. She covers that athletic department for the Greenville News. The lovely Lulu Kesson gives us so generously time every Thursday morning. Good morning, ma'am. Have the folks in Columbia, have you recovered from a disappointing weekend, Lulu Kesson?
Good morning. I have. I don't know if everyone else has. I think it'll be worse if it starts to rain on Saturday and there's another potential delay. So I'm hoping that the weather isn't bad and that kickoff goes to plan Saturday night.
As do I, although that would, should there be another delay, give South Carolina fans a little more time to drink in the parking lot, which I'm sure a few of them want to do right now, Lulu. So let's jump into what happened against Missouri. Aside from the fact that their running back did his best impression of an angry bulldozer on Saturday to the Carolina defense, just give me your overall takeaways from that loss. What stood out as that's not good?
Definitely the fact that South Carolina is very undisciplined and the mental toughness is not there. Right now, the focus, I think my biggest takeaway is that South Carolina is just failing to meet the moment kind of week after week in different ways. Virginia Tech, I didn't think that they met the moment after kind of setting the game standard. And then obviously SC State, they kind of struggled really early on. Vanderbilt overall. And then here you have a Missouri team that's honestly on paper better than you, or had been performing better than you, I should say. You have a chance to take the lead with 5 or 6 minutes left and you don't take it. I just think that's kind of my theme of the season through 4 games so far, but it really stuck out. Just South Carolina, one, can't stop drawing pre-snap penalties and seemingly can't run the ball really right now.
So let's talk about that. And I do want to talk about these two aspects of the game because I could not agree with you more. In fact, my take on Monday was at least there was a little fight, because I think in the Vanderbilt game, and we talked about this last week, Lulu, like it felt to me like that team laid down, and I never thought that they would lay down. But I also thought that it would be understood that if the South Carolina team is going to rise to any moment, whether it's the season-long expectations or game by game, it was going to have to be a team with a step back in talent, obviously, that was disciplined, that was smart, that did get to where they needed to be and do their job. And I agree, they've come up short there. What do we chalk that up to? Because if we don't have a better reason, unfortunately, then we kind of have to lay it on the feet of the coaches. And if we have to do that, we have to lay it at the feet of Shane Beamer.
Yeah, so I'm not sure how much or if you were able to see kind of what Shane, basically I asked Shane, we're talking about leadership. And then I was following up with somebody else asked a really great question about leadership. I followed up to kind of say, obviously Lenoris isn't going to be your vocal leader. He leads in his own way. Do you ever find yourself with any player kind of wishing that they talked more in a certain moment? And what kind of do you meet players halfway if you want them to be that voice on the field, but that isn't, their natural leadership style? And it sort of just feels like South Carolina is lacking leadership around Lenoris right now. And that's what I chalk a lot of these mental mistakes and the failure to meet the moment to, because I think South Carolina just isn't having that on-field voice holding them accountable. And hey, I mean, I've heard some names in terms of like, okay, who do you listen to when, things aren't really going that well? But I just have to say that it seems like from the outside, there's a really obvious drop off in whose voices are really loud on the field. And I think that's sort of the reason why maybe in these big moments, things are sort of crumbling instead of thriving. Whereas last year, it felt like the opposite.
I agree with you, Lulu. And, one of the things that, as somebody who's been around football for a long time, I know you have as well, in order for somebody to become a leader, they have to perform on the football field, right? Like nobody's going to look at in the huddle across at a wide receiver with a bunch of drops or a quarterback who's inaccurate or a linebacker who misses a bunch of tackles and go, that's our leader, that's our guy. It's on the successful players to step up. Has there been any conversation? Has this been a narrative delivered to the football team that, hey, the guys are performing, like we need you to step up and be leaders? Or is this just kind of something going by the wayside? How much do we know about those conversations?
Yeah, no, that's a great point. And I think that's why last year in particular, like you had Kyle Kennard, you had Demetrius Knight, you had your entire D-line, and they were all like, they could back up whatever they were saying because they had either been starting for 3 years or came in and transferred and were incredible in the first 4 games. As Shane Beamer was kind of pointing out yesterday, and like he said on Sunday, he's never going to throw his coaches or his players under the bus. And I'm saying that because there's a lot of very frustrated South Carolina fans who are like calling us media soft and telling us that we're asking Shane softball questions. I'm not going to waste time by asking Shane if he's going to fire Mike Shula because he's not going to answer that question, and it's only going to strain a relationship to ask decent questions that ultimately fans will want to know the answer to. Anyways, Shane was basically saying yesterday, a lot of these young guys, they're either young or 2, they're old, but just haven't played enough here. So that's exactly to your point. Like as much as, you might have a player who loves to kind of lead with his voice, he has to back that up on the field first. And when things aren't going well, that's really hard to do. And so I think that definitely plays into delaying this process of finding people around Lenoris right now is, yeah, you have to be a natural born leader and you have to kind of be that voice if Lenoris isn't going to be. But at the same time, you have to back it up with some football, and there's not a ton going right now. And I think that, I really don't want to speculate, but like I think of someone like an Oscar Attaway, who I know is such a leader. I can't say or not, if he's the type of kind of verbal leader as a Demetrius Knight was, but the run game's struggling right now. I'm sure that sort of affects the way that he's approaching the offense and leadership. And there's a lot, unfortunately, going wrong in different areas. And that definitely plays into, I think, people's comfortability and willingness to kind of use their voice because they feel like they don't have the successive statistics to back it up.
I think that is more than fair. So let's talk then about a couple of things you mentioned at the X's and the O's. One of those is the run game, which is just not going well. And I've heard some theories that it is because your offensive line is pretty middle of the pack as far as the SEC goes. I have heard some folks saying, hey, maybe Faison's just not as talented as he looked playing lesser opponents at Utah State. We've seen a couple of times where Attaway's had some bowling ball runs, but they've been unable to find any level of consistency as of late. So with all of that being said, what do you think is the issue of the run game, and what is being done or might be done to get it going? Because if the run game isn't going, you can attack Lenoris Sellers, which is, I think, part of the reason I want to see more design runs. But I also think there are a lot of spots where we want design runs where teams are setting the edge because there's no fear of a run game up the gut.
Yeah, no, I think it's a combination of things. And I think that, yeah, that might be an easy answer. But obviously South Carolina's offensive line, what they've shown so far is pretty middle of the pack. It's not great. I'm not ready to write off Faison as being lesser talented than expected. And to be honest, like, I think that the whole preseason, like, there still was only so much on tape that you could actually take into consideration. And I know that sounds crazy. And I know that I'm not trying to act like the SEC is a whole different sport, but you just still never really know. And so my expectations of him were very much, I'll find out when I see it. I can't really think too high or too low, but I just think that overall, like, everyone on offense is struggling to block and protect. I think that you look at these plays where things go wrong and it just feels like there's 3 or 4 players who just could not block a defender for the life of them, whether that's, on the perimeter, on the O-line. Like, I just think that something on the fundamental aspect of the run game isn't going well right now. And I think that, it's daunting to say get back to the basics week 5, but it sort of seems like the energy that I'm getting is that it's nothing too complicated that's going wrong, but just something that needs like really quick improvement and hasn't improved yet.
I totally agree. And so what has been the messaging about all of this? Because while I understand that, it's not as simple as just saying, hey, Shane, fire Mike Shula and let's do something different. But what is being presented? I went after Dabo Swinney a little bit this week because all of his press conferences have been very much we'll fix it. Like we got a lot of heart here. I want to know what might be done to fix it. Has there been any indication about tinkering with the offense, with the defense, about changing anything? Or is South Carolina kind of taking the same attitude of, hey, we're just going to gut check and go out there, do what we do and do it better?
I wouldn't necessarily say that. It is tricky because, again, and I'm not saying this to defend Shane, I'm just saying this from like a clarity perspective as somebody who is responsible for hearing what he says every day. Like, he is always going to, I wouldn't say put up a front because it's not fake, but a lot is happening behind the scenes that we're purposely not going to hear about. And I think that Shane is definitely one to make more changes than people assume. And I do think that a lot is going on behind the scenes. I think ultimately, as much as Shane and Shula and people make adjustments, like a lot, unfortunately, like it falls on the players and it does fall on execution. And I do think that against Missouri, there was just there was an execution and kind of at times where it, I imagine, was very frustrating for coaches because you kind of throw your hands up in the air and say, okay, that could have worked had one block been just a wee bit better. I do think that Shane is willing to make drastic changes or acknowledge that there's a lot fundamentally wrong. Will we see it between Missouri and Kentucky? I do think that a lot of that falls onto the players, but at the same time, I don't think that Shane is sitting here thinking that these are early kinks that are going to work out specifically with the run game. I think he is well aware that it's a really, really troubling issue. Without a doubt.
This game, Lulu Kessin, feels wildly important to me. I said this to open the show. I'll stick with it now. If South Carolina loses this game, and even with the season at 2-2, I still think that would be an upset. I still think South Carolina is a better football team. But if they were to lose this game, I don't think this team's even going bowling. I don't think they become bowl eligible. I think the back half of that schedule, you look at a win against Coastal. Hell, just for the funsies, I'll even give you a win against Clemson. That's still 4 at that point with some very, very tough SEC teams out there. Aside from that, you've got to find 2 more of those to be eligible. This game feels like an emergency to me. This game feels like it is a must win, regardless of where you end up in the postseason, just to have something. How important is this game to you against Kentucky, whether it is for postseason consideration as a bowl eligible team, whether it is just to set a tone that we won't die? Like, how important is this game against Kentucky this weekend to you?
I would agree with the same level of importance. I think that if South Carolina can't figure out a way to beat Kentucky, and that isn't necessarily an insult to Kentucky, it's just playing, thinking about every factor, like they're in trouble. I would not be surprised if, I will agree. I agree 1,000%. It's a must-win game, and I don't see how you make a bowl game if you can't beat Kentucky and you don't pick up at least that one win.
All right, let's talk very quickly, Lulu Kessin from the Greenville News, about this game. This Kentucky team, outside of maybe Coastal Carolina, the probably the weakest team left ahead. Obviously, we know over the past couple of years, there's kind of almost been a baby rivalry, if not between the schools, the players, almost to some degree between Mark and Shane Beamer. The last couple of years that has developed. I think this is not just a must win. I certainly think there's got to be a little bit of extra gas on the fire because of it. Give me your two, three keys to this game that are specific to the game against the Kentucky Wildcats.
Yeah, I think specifically to that point, like emotions have to be in check. I know that's a general thing South Carolina's struggling with, but like penalties can't happen. South Carolina, I said it before, I predicted that they were going to struggle against Hardy last week, and they did. And now Kentucky has two running backs. Can I sit here and say that one or both combined are as good as Hardy? No, but at the same time, they're very talented, and that's going to be an issue. And so if South Carolina can't stop the run and can't tackle, it's going to be a really long night. And Lenore Sellers has to prove why he was on Heisman conversations in the beginning of the year. He did against Missouri, in my opinion, with his passing, but obviously he kind of shot himself in the foot with a negative 28 rushing yards. So he has to take a step forward because this Kentucky quarterback can't sit here and think that he can, match whatever Lenore Sellers is putting on the field, because then that's going to be a long night if you give someone like that confidence.
Fair enough. Lulu Kessin covers the South Carolina Gamecock Athletic Department for the Greenville News. She is more than generous with her time every Thursday at 8 a.m. to check in on the Gamecocks. Young lady, you are the absolute best. I wish you the best of luck this weekend covering the game. I hope that next Thursday's conversation is a little more uplifting.
Yeah, for sure. Me too. Well, thank you so much for having me. As always, I appreciate it, and have a great weekend.
You are the best. Lulu Kessin from the Greenville News. Make sure you follow her on X at Lulu Kessin, LULUKESIN. If you are a Gamecock fan, she is your must follow. Let us take a break. When we come back here in just a moment from right now, we have got a pair of stories out of the college football landscape that are landscape changing, or don't change the landscape at all right now, but might change the landscape later, but like also only if some people want the landscape. You'll figure out what I mean when we come back. I'm Rob. He's Lonzo. You're amazing. The Rob Brown Show's on your radio. It's the Fan Upstate.
The rains, they have come.
I see that.
Probably dirt piles around my car.
Stay right there, guys. We'll be right back. All right, y'all. We back. Thanks for hanging in there. Morning, Michael. Welcome in, brother. Good to have you.
Hey, sports fans, I'm Mark Brumman, owner of Garage Doors Today. That's right, Garage Doors Today. We proudly serve Greenville, Greer, Spartanburg, and the surrounding counties with fast, reliable, and honest garage door service. Tired of companies showing up late or not at all? Not here. At Garage Doors Today, we pride ourselves on same-day service, ultra-quiet motors, new doors, and dependable repairs, all backed by honesty and reliability. And right now, we're offering our $125 garage door tune-up special just for our radio listeners. Ask yourself, when's the last time you've had your garage door service? Can't remember? Don't worry. We've got you covered. Call Garage Doors Today now at 864-924-9272 or visit us online at GarageDoorsTodayGreenville.com. That's GarageDoorsTodayGreenville.com. Upfront pricing, superior products, fast, reliable service, and most reasonable rates around. GarageDoorsTodayGreenville.com.
Mad World Haunted Attraction is now open. Voted one of America's top haunts and #1 in South Carolina. Mad World is much more than just a haunted house. It's a fall tradition like no other. Experience the ultimate mini golf, axe throwing, carnival games, food, bonfire, roaming characters, and fun for the whole family. Located in Piedmont off I-85, exit 35. Get ready for 15 years of fear at Mad World. Buy your tickets now with MadWorldAttractions.com. That's MadWorldAttractions.com.
Oh, could this vintage store be any cuter, right? And the best part, they accept discovery.
Sorry, I'm reading I'm reading a bunch of statistics about how ABS may change baseball, which we need to talk about. Maybe we'll do that here. That seems
And I am sending a technical report email.
Or as we call it, I didn't do it email.
Yeah. It done got screwed up. I wasn't me.
If you think you better take me out, it's going to be really difficult. Tulsa King. New season, now streaming, exclusively on Paramount Plus.
Weather brought to you by Staples. Have you heard? The Staples Easy button is back with even more easy. Press it for custom prints, shipping services, even passport photos. Staples. That was easy.
After a bye week, Pullman football is back in action this Saturday.
So surprising. How can anyone hate Rob Brown? I mean, he's a paragon of virtue and happiness.
I mean, I agree completely.
Now, if you want to hate on the mustache, I think you should do a separate screen of just mustache hate. Although I don't know if you've got anything written. We have, well, some things on the stream. See if you wore that shirt yesterday with the necklace, it would have been it.
See, I gotta get a shorter necklace. Courtney said it hangs too low.
Get the whistle.
You
gotta do it now.
The Rob Brown Show back on the radio. It's the fan upstate, Rob Brown, the great one, Lonzo, and you.
You know what would also fix that, and hopefully you won't say anything else about it, is pecs.
Okay. Hit the gym, fat ass. That's what Lonzo just said to me.
I would have no room to talk about that. That's not what I said. It highlights certain things if you have certain things that are, or I don't know.
I had a friend of mine from down in Florida about a week ago or so who was driving through the area and was on their way up to, it doesn't matter. They were on their way somewhere north of us. And so they popped off the interstate so that we could go have lunch together while they were passing through the upstate of South Carolina. And I have not seen this person since, gosh, I don't know, 5 or 6 years ago. when your boy Robbie B was slightly larger, by about 60 pounds than where I'm sitting at right now. And this individual popped out of their car and started to walk past me. And I'm like, oh, okay, we're just going to walk right by. And he was like, dog, I did not even recognize you. Holy crap, you lost some weight. And I said, yeah, man, thanks. I appreciate it. And he goes, congrats on getting skinny fat. And I said,
wow.
Cool.
Oh,
cool.
Oh, so this is a good friend.
Oh, yeah, without a doubt. Like somebody who can get away with calling me was saying congrats on being skinny fat without me just like picking up a rock and throwing it at their head. But it for some reason,
so you
that was just as insulting as walking up and be like, hey, you put on some weight.
So you took my comment as negative, and it wasn't meant to be that.
Yeah. Hey, you know what would help with that shirt? Some pecs.
All right, I did use that voice that time.
Yeah.
Way to go, you.
Yeah. Yeah.
What I'm saying is, to accent certain things, you have to have certain attributes, and if you don't have them, you should look and go, okay, I'm not going to get that. So let me change it up a little.
Okay.
Like add a whistle. Because if you add a whistle, it's perfect.
Some pecs. All right. Hey,
prove me wrong. I mean, if you want to go shirts and skins right now, let's do it.
No, I don't, and I won't, and I shan't, because we don't charge $9.99 a month for this stream. It's free. Sports
Is
Talk.
that how much OnlyFans costs?
I mean, it depends on the person, I believe. I don't know. I don't pay for OnlyFans. Just so we're clear. Why would you? There's naked people on the internet. You don't need to pay for OnlyFans. There's naked people everywhere on the internet. All right. If that's your thing, you don't have to pay for it.
Allegedly.
And now let's do a liner, shall we? Let's tag on to that. Sports Talk on the Fan Upstate presented by Paramount Plus. You cannot count on much, but you can always count on Sundays with the NFL on CBS and Paramount Plus. Watch your local NFL game live every Sunday all season long. Visit ParamountPlus.com/NFL to get started today.
And you can watch that Sylvester Stallone show, which is pretty good.
Tulsa King, which I haven't started yet, but it's very high on the list. I feel like I need to.
And not to mention, pretty soon, Paramount Plus, UFC.
Also that. All right. Let me get to this real quick, because I don't think it's a long discussion, because I don't think many people are going to care about it, but I'm also going to say, as I described it earlier, this is not a landscape shifting story. I do think whatever the long-term ramifications of it will be a landscape shifting story in the landscape of college football. A judge on Wednesday ruled in favor of Indiana starting safety Lewis Moore. Lewis Moore filed a lawsuit back in early August that challenged the NCAA's 5-year eligibility rule. The argument that Lewis Moore made in his lawsuit was that his time at a junior college, Navarro Junior College in Texas, should not count against his NCAA eligibility to play football. A judge in Texas, a district judge, Dale Tillery, ruled that Lewis Moore's lawsuit was correct. His argument was correct. He made the argument that the NCAA's 5-year eligibility rule is a violation of the Texas Antitrust Act. Moore's attorney, Brian Lawton, said, quote, "This is a very big victory, not only for Lewis Moore, but for all similarly situated college student athletes who have illegally had their eligibility for attending junior colleges taken from them by the NCAA. I am so proud of Lewis for navigating this. Lewis leads Indiana in tackles, interceptions, pass breakups, and he's had to do that while living a lawsuit. I couldn't be more proud of him. He has earned everything that he deserves." Moore was at Navarro for 3 years, went to Indiana for 2, transferred to Ole Miss for year 3, is back at Indiana for year 4. An injunction had to be filed. That injunction was filed effectively to allow him to play while the lawsuit went through a Texas district court. The injunction allowed him to play, as he is now playing his 4th year in power football, 2 at Indiana, 1 at Ole Miss, another one at Indiana. But via the old rules, your JUCO years would count against your eligibility, meaning he should have been done already. He has now won. The injunction was put in place, and now he has won the lawsuit. Lawton said, quote, "I commend our judge. He carefully listened to the evidence. He let everybody put on their case, and this result is a righteous result for a very deserving client. The students at Indiana, the faculty at Indiana, the fan base in Indiana, they should really be proud of Lewis. He is an asset to their school." Look, man, I am pro player. I always have been. This is why when NIL came down the pipe, I think I was the only person on the station that said, this is a good thing, let it happen. When the transfer portal came down the pipe, I don't know if I was the only person who said it was a good thing at the time, but I said it was a good thing at the time. I am 99% of the time always going to be in favor of decisions and developments that benefit college football players, almost exclusively. But this one I do have a question about. And this maybe even more so than NIL, maybe even more so than the portal. I think this might potentially down the line be the trigger for the feds to get involved, for this to become a discussion on Capitol Hill. Because if I am the NCAA, I am going to make the argument that I understand your argument that is a violation of the Antitrust Act, because there's nowhere else to go ply your trade if you're a college football player. On the other hand, I do have to ask, if this is a violation of the Texas Antitrust Act, is not every NCAA rule then technically a violation of the Texas Antitrust Act? If the NCAA has a rule about eligibility, or it has a rule about academic requirements, or it has a that supersedes the schools, for instance, but if it has academic requirements, if it has any requirement at all made on a player, and I'm not saying it doesn't. I'm asking the question because I'm not an attorney. In fact, I'm just an idiot with a microphone. But does that kind of lead us to a path that every NCAA restriction on athletes could be challenged, ruled an antitrust violation, if only in Texas, and open a door? I think that we are on a path. This is not a new take from me. I think we are on a path that is going to, at some point, require the NCAA to be given some sort of antitrust protection. But if it is given some sort of antitrust exemption, it will have to then go through, again, everything we've said, employment, unionization, et cetera, to become a business that gets those protections from the government. And there is only one other way that this can go. The only other way that this can go, to me, is the folks on Capitol Hill who start to say, whether it is via antitrust exemption or some other direction, that the NCAA does have the right to create some sort of restrictions, requirements of players, of participants, that can be enforced, but maybe it has to go in front of a committee, right? Because the other thing, what you don't want to do, and the reason that you don't jump to that reality immediately, is because if you give them blanket protection, then they can just start making up whatever restrictions they want. And you don't want to do that, because then you will take lawsuits from players. There's a lot to this. But what I will say is this lawsuit, along with Diego Pavia's lawsuit at Vanderbilt, which is pretty much the same in a different state, this lawsuit creates a world where I don't think there is any possible end game other than some sort of federal involvement. Because by this lawsuit, I think it becomes possible for athletes to begin challenging any restrictions, requirements, guidelines, whatever that is put in place by the NCAA, saying, wait, if that one violates it, don't they all? Doesn't any restriction on us violate it? This story it doesn't sound like much right now because it's Indiana. Who cares, right? It may down the line become a massively impactful story. Back after this on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate. All right, guys, hitting the restroom. No, I am not still dating my cousin. She ran around on me. It broke my heart, Tennessee fan. Be right back. Upstate. Let's do an audio blitz here. We usually do it at 8, not on Thursdays when Lula Kesson swings by. If you missed her interview, worry not. We talked some Gamecock football this morning. We'll have it posted for you later on in the day when the show is at its conclusion. You can go to thefanupstate.com, click on the podcast button. You can drop that button down to the Rob Brown Show, click on it, and all 4 hours of the show are available on demand and at your leisure. So if you miss even a minute of the show, go grab it in real time from their website, thefanupstate.com. Go to the podcast section, click it down to the Rob Brown Show, download any hour or every hour, and listen to it whenever you want to.
Or if you're going on a long trip, we also put a full show.
The full 4 hours.
Yeah. So
edited for time, so it's not even 4 hours.
So you click on that, and it'll get you from here to
past Atlanta
or Charleston or something. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Grab the podcasted version, edited for time and everything. You're welcome, America. But since Lulu Kesson came by and talked Gamecocks with us at 8 o'clock, again, that was in hour number 3. So if you missed it, go download it later. We do our audio blitz now. I've got a couple of different clips for you that we are going to run through. I want to start with Denny Hamlin. Denny Hamlin, of course, on the NASCAR circuit. The playoffs are underway. There has been an issue in these playoffs for a few teams. It happened to RGR a couple of days ago, where teammates who are in the playoffs have been racing against teammates who are not in the playoffs, but are racing for position and purse money, et cetera, et cetera. And, you know, everybody's got a different philosophy. There are some people for whom the team positioning doesn't really matter. They don't care if my teammate wins the championship. Am I going to give away $100,000 that would go into my pocket so that that guy can maybe move into the next round and maybe win a championship for my team that I had not much to do with? I don't know. Anyway, one of the guys who has taken a lot of crap over the years is Ricky Stenhouse Jr. Ricky has had some races that did not go great for, Ricky. Well, Denny Hamlin was talking about old Ricky and had one of my favorite NASCAR podcast moments in recent memory.
I didn't see that he ricked Ricky. I said that wrong. I said it wrong. It's not what I meant. I did.
Now, the reason that is hilarious if you're a non-NASCAR guy is because Ricky Stenhouse Jr., who has been in a lot of very dumb accidents, has earned from the fans the nickname Ricky Spinhouse or Recky Stenhouse Jr. And Denny Hamlin, in what was either a flub because he was talking quickly, and as someone who flubs with some regularity because I talk quickly, I get it.
Come on.
Or Recky Stenhouse Jr. is what he calls him off the record, and he absolutely just called him Recky on the most listened to NASCAR podcast in the rotation right now.
Oh, this was definitely intentional.
I don't think it was intentional.
Because without seeing them laugh, the laughs sound fake. I mean,
no, he fell out of the chair.
Okay, so
he had to get away from the microphone.
So they're one of those people who don't really know how to laugh, so it sounds like it's fake laugh.
I think it was a spot where he probably finds, out of frustration with Recky, the nickname hilarious, but isn't going to call him that out of a sense of professionalism in public, except for he just did it on the most downloaded NASCAR podcast in the game.
Well,
hilarious.
For the most part, those guys, boys. I mean, I'm talking about most racers.
Many of them are.
Yeah, so,
some of them hate each other.
Okay.
This has been a NASCAR argument for a very long time that we should kind of roll back the restrictions that we have placed on driver interaction and let guys who hate each other. Let's get some there's no rivalries in NASCAR anymore.
Except for then you're trying to throw your helmet through windows and things like that.
As if that's not the reason half us watch.
Well,
exactly. Matt Rule is the head coach of the Nebraska Cornhuskers. Dylan Raiola.
He still is?
He is. They lost by 3 in a very good game with the Michigan Wolverines this past weekend. Nebraska's quarterback is a cat by the name of Dylan Raiola. Now, if you haven't followed the saga of Dylan Raiola the last couple of years, the dude is unintentionally hilarious because the dude just lives his life in Patrick Mahomes cosplay. Every time Mahomes gets a haircut, he gets the matching haircut. He comes out and he does the same pregame dance and warm-up as Mahomes, to the point that Mahomes does that thing where he like flicks his fingers back and forth between plays, which I understand because I'm ADHD and I twitch all the time too. My wife is driven insane by it. But he does the exact one that Patrick Mahomes does. He dresses like him. He wears the same sunglasses, the same bandana. He wears the same number. This kid has lived his life in Patrick Mahomes cosplay for the past 3 years running. Matt Rule came to his defense.
I'm not talking about fans. I'm talking about when it comes, sometimes I think things are just so lazy. Like he's completing 75% of his passes. He's played 2 Power 4 teams. Like even the play with the touchdown to Ja'Cory, like that's an elite level check. That's not somebody in the headset looking over the sidelines and them going like this. And that's Dylan playing quarterback, man. Like, so yeah, I say it to everyone every time the media comes in. I'm like, let's not do the whole just the Mahomes thing. I mean, I get the Mahomes thing, but that's just such an easy. Let's talk about the football. And I think he's playing football at a really, really, really high level. And if you look at his growth from last year to this year, like he got hit early. He had to run around early, and yet he's one throw, and that throw's not all, I mean, it's on him. It's also on the tight end. Tight end breaks out when he's supposed to sit down. Tight end does what he's supposed to do. The ball's completed, and we don't have to throw that interception. So it's a little bit of everybody, but yeah, that doesn't bother me as much as like, I want people to see in these guys what I see in them, right? They play their tails off, and I think Dylan's playing quarterback at a really high level right now, personally.
Okay, now I want to go and fall on both sides of what Matt Rule had to say. On one hand, I actually agree with Matt Rule. Dylan Raiola's playing pretty good football this year. Dylan Raiola's got one of the highest completion percentages in college football right now. It ain't exactly like Nebraska's played nobody. They've played a tougher road so far than the Oregon Ducks have. He's playing good football. On the other hand, Matty baby, let's not pretend like the obsession with Patrick Mahomes is borderline stalkerish. Okay? Like it was cute for a minute, but it's to the point of almost creepy now. So like, no, we're not going to not talk about it because it's a little weird.
Admittedly, I think it's a little weird too, but if you're going to emulate, if you're going to copy, if you're going to try to be like to the point where you are them, don't you want to emulate one of the best quarterbacks of all time? I mean, that's who you want to be like. And if, let's say, that gives him the confidence to play at a higher level, then what's wrong with that? And the fact that he's been to Chiefs games and Mahomes and those guys, they don't seem to care. And if the guy it's akin to doing an impression. I mean, he's been with Mahomes, dressed like Mahomes, and he doesn't seem to have a problem with it.
Fine. That's all good. It's weird. It's fine if the guys he's emulating is like, okay, that's pretty cool. I consider it respect. It's fine if he's doing it because he feels like it inspires him. I will tell you the truth.
So you should never dress up with someone that as someone you know.
It's weird. If I came in here dressed as you every day, Lonzo, that was a Halloween costume. I feel like there's a small difference between Halloween and September 1st.
I just want you to be consistent. That's all.
So with that being said, like, it's fine if he utilizes it because I'll tell you the truth. One of a coping mechanism for me. I say this all the time and people think that I'm joking. I'm telling you the truth. I don't have the highest level of self-confidence in the world. It took a very long time to get me to where I could come in here, do a show and not think about it for hours and hours and hours on end afterwards. One of these coping mechanisms, one of these strategies I have had to develop in order to overcome what has been I know it sounds like a joke, I swear to you it's not, lack of self-confidence in a good chunk of my life, is I have to become someone else. Like I make myself into a character, I act. And then
I thought you were going to say it's just hatred of me, and hatred of me has made you feel.
Oh no, don't get me wrong. That is part of it. I hate me most of the time.
Oh no, I meant you hate me.
Oh no. I promise you, I hate me more than I've ever been upset with you. I swear.
All right.
No,
day's not over yet.
I understand wanting to adopt a counter character because it makes you do something better or be. I'm cool with that. But dude, like. It's all the time. Like, it's just all the time. It's just all the time. It's just weird. So yes, Matt, I will talk about how good of a football player Dylan Raiola is, but no, Matt, I'm not going to talk about how weird it is. It just is. All right, let me give you one more. Clay Matthews just came up with an idea that, frankly, I think is brilliant. We're having more refereeing conversations because, of course, we are. MLB just signed off on ABS under the challenge system next year. I will get to that. But Clay, as we've complained about referees in the NFL for years, came up with an idea.
Here's what I think. I'm talking a farm system for retired ex-NFL players. You come in there, they give you a nice salary. You're full-time. You've seen the game. You understand the speed of the game. You understand the intent on roughing the passer and pass interference. You understand when there's a minute left. Like, I think we get some ex-NFL players, and I don't know what it is. Maybe they need to play 3, 4, 5, whatever it may be, but you make them full-time employees, give them big salaries. That's what we need to have, and I think you get more people who are around the game rather than part-time teachers, attorneys, whatnot, who understand the game.
Delaney, could you imagine?
I like this. I love this idea. I really do. Instead of having...
Sounds like someone looking for another job, but
I don't think Clay Matthews is hurting for cash.
Probably not, but people do burn through. I mean, have you seen the Delonte West stuff?
I'm not saying people don't. What I'm saying, and in fact, he took the idea one step further, and he said, maybe this is for guys who played like 3, 4, 5 years, not long-term vets, not guys who were like one and done, but like guys who played a handful of years, were pretty good, because who's going to understand the speed of the game? Who's going to understand the game better than guys who actually played it, instead of having a guy out there who's an attorney 350 days a year and a referee for 15, right? Like I think this is a great idea. I would go so far as to say, I would be a hell of a lot less inclined to bang the drum on calls I don't agree with on any given particular play if it was made by somebody who has played that play and understands and gets it and goes, you know what, like, yeah, letter of the law, that's a hold, but in this case, it was this. Or I understand that is roughing the passer, and there are spots you still have to throw the flag, but like in this case, there's not much else he could have done to avoid that hit other than let the quarterback run away. I think Clay Matthews just came up with a brilliant idea. Let's let guys who played 3 or 4 years, who maybe didn't make a gazillion dollars, but understand the speed of NFL football, officiate NFL football. I think it's brilliant. Coming up in the next hour, we will talk about ABS and MLB and your MLB playoff bracket as it's set, because y'all, I'm a bandwagon Seattle Mariners fan for the rest of the ride, and I'll tell you why coming up in the next hour of the show. We'll talk some NFL. Jackson Dart getting the start for the New York Giants. Hopefully he doesn't sports flash.
I hope he doesn't sports flash either. You know what we'll also be talking about?
I was going to say fart.
That would be Fight Club, which you already forgot about from last hour. Yeah, well, he doesn't plug the segment anymore. It hurts. The Atlanta Braves win streak ends at 10 with a 4-3 loss to the Nationals yesterday. Atlanta had 6 hits, including home runs for Marcell Ozuna, Eli White, and Drake Baldwin, but went 0 for 11 with runners in scoring position. The Philadelphia Phillies locked up a first-round bye with an 11-1 win over the Marlins last night. 93rd win of the season ensures the Phillies open at home in the divisional series, which starts October 4th. Drew Brees and Larry Fitzgerald highlight the NFL's Hall of Fame class of 2026 nominees. 11 other players, including Phillip Rivers, Alex Smith, Greg Olsen, Jason Witten, Frank Gore, and LaShawn McCoy, were announced in their first year of eligibility. Stay tuned next hour when we do the Fight Club, whether he forgets it or not. And yes, I said doo-doo.
From the News Talk 98.9 WORD Traffic Center, I'm Bill Brooks on the Fan, upstate.
Your access to cutting-edge pain relief just got even easier. QC Kinetics now offering virtual consultations for new patients. Hey, it's Rob Brown. If you are living with chronic joint pain, you can now meet with a QC Kinetics medical professional from the comfort of your own home. This all-new telemedicine platform is an exciting and time-saving option. It can either be by phone or video conference, and you will get one-on-one attention to a
I don't know. You know, I've been offended been hurt. I've been I've tried to do things to remind, including, mentioning the hour before. I don't think it's a bit. I think he just completely forgets. And yeah, I know that rhymed. Who knows? Maybe there's a management decision that's been made that they're canceling the segment, but no one will tell me. So the best way to do it is to pretend like it doesn't exist and hope that I'll forget, because I'm older and, I'm not going to forget, but still, maybe I'll get the hint.
The largest family law firm in the country, with over 35 years of helping clients navigate divorce. Divorce touches all.
Can't be a show that prides ourselves on our wrestling and not talk wrestling.
So when you find yourself facing divorce, you need a partner you can count on. If you are facing divorce, contact Cordell and Cordell today at 1-855-GET-LEGAL. That's 1-855-GET-LEGAL. 55 Beatty Greenville. And now the
I'm not going to say that I didn't, cry about it and really get depressed the first couple of times it happened, but but I got over it, as most people do. And now it's just, it's a punch to the face of those who would try to put me down, to bring me down, to not allow me to have a voice. Yeah.
You're Daniel Bryan right now.
No, I'm not.
Yes, you are. Yesing in the face of authority.
No, I'm not. I would never be that.
That's the entire WrestleMania 30. You just did the entire WrestleMania 30 angle.
Okay, Vince. No, I didn't.
I've succeeded at a thing, and now the authority is trying to take my voice away from me. I am filling the ring with fans and taking over.
I wouldn't call the
Yes.
segment success. I would call it now defiance against the man who wants to make it disappear. As usual, I am the people's champ. I'm here for you guys. And I appreciate the outcry. That's the most comments we've gotten all day. Half of them is because I said doo-doo, but still.
Listen on your phone, download the Odyssey app, and search The Fan Upstate.
There's a whole lot more to know about sound if you really want to go into the subject.
Your smart speaker. Just say play 97 The Fan Upstate on your HD radio at WFBC HD3. There's just one more thing. And on your computer at
TheFanUpstate.com. Upstate.
WYRD Greenville.
WORD Sports.
WFBC HD3 Greenville. The official sports voice of you, the Upstate Fan.
It's not going away, James. I'd have to pry it from my cold, dead fingers or something.
Manufactured locally for the Carolinas. This is the Rob Brown Show. Rob only.
Can you dig it? Sucker! The Rob Brown Show back on your radio. It's the Fan Upstate. Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen.
I'm not too old to find you, son.
Rob Brown, the great one, Lonzo, and you steaming towards the end of a stellar Thursday and ever closer to the football weekend. We'll talk some Thursday night football coming up here in just a little while. We've got in the next segment of the show a segment I have literally never once forgotten about. Fight Club with the great one, Lonzo, and there is plenty to talk about in the club today. We'll get to that coming up here in about 18 minutes.
How could you possibly know that when you forgot about it?
I've never forgotten about it.
How could you know there's a lot to talk about if you were
about
trying to avoid talking about it?
Never have, never would. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to here for just a moment talk a little bit of baseball, because I know that there are some baseball fans out there, and baseball is good right now, my dudes and my dudettes. So let's get into it. We do have a few stories, news, notes we've got to get to in the world of baseball. Cal Raleigh hits a couple of dongs last night, numbers 59 and 60. Most home runs in American League history. Right now, the number is 22. It was set in 22 by Aaron Judge, who has 2 more than Cal Raleigh has at this very moment in time. Of course, Cal Raleigh, with 1 series left to play, may get to that number because he's been on an absolute heater as of the last couple of games. They have got a finale to their series today with the Colorado Rockies. You know that's up. And then he's got the Dodgers for 3, which is interesting now because the Dodgers starting rotation kind of in a weird spot right now. They have not named a starter for tomorrow or Saturday. The only starter is Clayton Kershaw, who will get the start in the season finale. Now, that's interesting because there is a possibility that on Sunday, on Sunday, when Clayton Kershaw and the Dodgers take on Seattle in the final series of the regular season, there's a chance the Dodgers are playing for a lot. There is a chance the Dodgers come into that game, depending on what the Padres do, who are 2.5 games back, and depending on what the Dodgers do over the next couple of days, there is the potential that may be a game that is must win for the Dodgers to clinch the NL West. There is also the possibility that they've already clinched the West. It's a short outing for Clayton Kershaw, which if you're hoping to see Cal Raleigh tie or surpass the AL home run record by clobbering 3 more big dongs in the year, would be immensely helpful with that. That would be tremendous for them. So I'm excited to see what comes out of that. I'm also going to tell you right now, I am in the Seattle camp for the playoffs. There are some teams that I really like. I really like this Cleveland team. I've enjoyed watching the run the Guardians have been on the last couple of weeks to catch and now pass the Detroit Tigers for the division lead. That's been fun. As much as they have for years of my life been a bane of my existence, I kind of like the Chicago Cubs right now, like plucky little upstart underdog team. I like that team a lot. But I really like the Seattle Mariners, and I like them for a couple of reasons. Number one, the people of Seattle have been waiting for this run for a very long time. This team it's been a moment of frustration for the past 3 seasons for Cody Decker and myself, because it's just been a team that every year gets you all built up buttercup just to let you down when it gets to be playoff time. They either collapse down the stretch, miss the playoffs, collapse down the stretch, give away a divisional lead, or get into the playoffs and are one and done. What I like about this team is right now, there's not a better team when it comes to balance between offense and pitching, right? Like hitting gets you into the playoffs, pitching wins in the playoffs. And one of the reasons that I love the Seattle team is they have had, as I have heard them described by BetMGM's Jay Kassan, my favorite baseball dude, a god-tier pitching staff that they just haven't done anything with. But this year, they said, let's do something with it. They made some moves at the deadline. They added some bats. And oh, by the way, there's a cat up there in Seattle who goes by the nickname The Big Dumper. Cal Raleigh. I am going to make the argument right now that if anybody wins the AL MVP, and I include Aaron Judge, who got to 50 homers for the 4th time yesterday, one of only 4 players in Major League Baseball history to get to 50 dongs 4 times in their career. The list is Babe Ruth, Mark McGwire, Sammy Sosa, Aaron Judge. That being said, Cal Raleigh is the definition of valuable. MVP is not best. It is ordinarily given to the best player, but it is not the best player. It's the most valuable player. And I don't think anybody is as valuable to this offense as Cal Raleigh. I also don't think anybody is as valuable to his team on defense as Cal Raleigh. Cal Raleigh played all-star caliber defense behind the plate. But there's another element to that is not talked about enough. I mentioned a moment ago that the Seattle Mariners are where the Seattle Mariners are right now because they have God-tier pitching. One of the things that you will take note of when you see teams that are built to have excellent rotations like the Mariners do is that it is very difficult for a catcher to be the catcher for everybody in the rotation. Guys have different preferences. They have different chemistry. It could be chalked up to something as simple as the pitcher doesn't like the way the catcher sets up behind the plate. It throws him off of his timing and his rhythm. So you've got to some teams have a catcher that plays just for one pitcher. Cal Raleigh catches for everybody out of that rotation. He catches for every closer, every reliever, and not one of them has had an issue with Cal Raleigh all year. Then you add in the fact that he is absolutely a throw-em-out guy. Then you add to the fact that Cal Raleigh has developed into being a field general for this defense. He is calling the shifts. He is calling the movement, the alignment. It's spectacular. And oh, by the way, 60 home runs in a season. Cal Raleigh is exactly what everyone wants and very few teams have ever found in a catcher. In fact, if I was to right now, if I was to put together a list of the best catchers of all time from an all-around perspective, and I was to put them, let's take their best year, there are a lot of names that would come up. Pudge Rodriguez is one of my favorite players of all time. Pudge Rodriguez was not from the dish. He had some years where he was hitting dongs. He was not to his team ever what Cal Raleigh has been to the Mariners this year. Joey B and I were having a conversation about him, Cal Raleigh, earlier today. And we were able to come up with effectively two guys that we would say were as important to their team in any one given year behind the dish as Cal Raleigh has been to the Mariners behind the dish this year. Those two guys are Mike Piazza, who was an absolute menace from the plate and an excellent defensive catcher. Mike Piazza and Johnny Bench. That's it. That's the list. As far as guys who were as important, and there may be some baseball guys out there that can come up with some other names that you would want to put in there. AJ Pierzynski, great player, great offensive player. Ted Simmons, like there's a list of very good offensive catchers. I don't think there has ever been one that is impactful in the lineup as Cal Raleigh, while also being the absolute anchor of his team on the defense, and a guy that every pitch in every pitcher in the rotation and every pitcher out of the pen trusted the way that the Mariners have trusted Cal Raleigh this year. He played all-star caliber ball all year long. He provided Golden Glove caliber defense behind the plate. He provided I'll say definitively, the best offensive season from the plate as a hitter of any catcher or switch hitter, by the way, but any catcher, maybe in the history of baseball. Again, like I've looked, I'm not coming up with a better year, and it's cursory at-a-glance research. I'm not coming up with a better individual season of offense from anybody in history except better than Cal Raleigh right now. What this guy has done this year, you are looking at a player that, I mean it when I say, the last couple of years, as I've tried to get people back into baseball, I have said, you're missing an opportunity right now. Because out in Los Angeles, California, there is a young man named Shohei Ohtani. And I am telling you right now, Shohei Ohtani is the best baseball player to ever walk the face of planet Earth. This is a man who is a Cy Young caliber pitcher. This is a man who did something that I frankly thought was impossible and won the NL MVP last year as a designated hitter. Can you imagine a world in which a guy clearly wins the MVP and he only plays half of the games in baseball? We're not talking about football where it's an offensive player. We're talking about baseball. The guy plays half of a baseball game. He does not play a lick of defense, and Shohei Ohtani is the best baseball player to ever walk planet Earth. And I have been saying for like 4 years now, if you're not watching baseball, even if it's only to watch Shohei Ohtani, you are missing the boat, because in a handful of years, those of us who were watching are going to say, we watched the greatest player of all time play baseball. And it won't be like that generational thing where it's like, no, it was Kobe. No, it was LeBron. No, it was Michael. No, it was Dr. J. No, it was Wilt Still. No. It's not going to be like that. It is going to be definitively Shohei Ohtani was the greatest baseball player to ever. He's one of the best 2 or 3 offensive players in the game, and he's one of the best 5 or 7 pitchers in the game at the same time. It's unbelievable. I am very quickly getting to that point with Cal Raleigh. Gold Glove defender, overall all-star, and leads the league in home runs and will not be giving it back. Will likely, I'm going to go ahead and call the shot. He needs 3 dongs, 3 slappers to lead the NL single-season home run record all time. And I think he's going to get there. Now, one more reason that I love Cal Raleigh. About 3 nights ago, Cal Raleigh and the Seattle Mariners clinched the playoffs. Not the division. They clinched the playoffs. The folks in Seattle were just happy. Let's just have a start. Let's not collapse down the stretch and miss the playoffs. Cal Raleigh was down on the field. He was handed a microphone, and he was asked to send a message to Mariners fans in the stadium and Mariners fans worldwide. And here's the promo Cal Raleigh cut.
Hey guys, like you said, we love you. Might as well go win the whole thing.
And the Seattle fans came unglued when Cal said, we might as well go win the whole thing. Well, last night, the Seattle Mariners had an opportunity. With a win, they would clinch the AL West. Cal Raleigh hit not 1, but 2 gigantic dongs in this game. The Seattle Mariners won, and they clinched the AL West. So out goes the young lady from Fox Sports to talk to the MVP, Cal Raleigh.
Yeah, I mean, I think most people heard what I said last night, might as well win the whole thing.
All right, Aaron, back up to you. Naughty Cal. Naughty Cal.
I think she likes him. Naughty Cal. Naughty Cal. That's how a postseason war cry is born. I'm going to go on the record and say somebody from the Guinness Book of World Records better get on a plane and fly to Seattle, Washington right now, because I've got a sneaky suspicion that over the next couple of weeks, Seattle, Washington is about to set the record for the most number of times that the word is said by one community at one time. Because the war cry for Seattle from now until they are either eliminated or they raise that big chunk of metal, am I right? The war cry in Seattle is going to be, with nothing but calmness and brevity, might as well go win the whole thing. I got to tell you right now, not a Seattle fan. Except for now, I definitely am. I'm going to tell you right now, if the Seattle Mariners take advantage of this and they put out a might as well go win the whole thing t-shirt, it will be the first piece of non-Atlanta Braves memorabilia that I have owned ever. I would absolutely buy a Cal the Big Dumper Raleigh, might as well go win the whole thing shirt the second it hits the merch store. Seattle, lean into this. We've been saying for years, baseball's got to find a way to make a star. They got to find a way to make a star. This is a sport that leans on teams. It's probably the only major professional American sport that still leans on its teams. But people love a star. Cal Raleigh's a star. Gold Glove defender, best hitter in the American League, an all-star, and dropping bombs on microphones after game. I am a Seattle bandwagon fan the rest of the ride. Mariners might as well go win the whole thing. We also might as well do fight, clap with a great one when we come back. A lot to get to. WrestlePalooza and also other things. That's next on The Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate.
My world.
All right, guys, live read coming back with Fight Club. Stay right there. Foamy.
Welcome into the Fight Club, where I took a break from my football T-shirts and threw on this amazing Wyatt 6 T-shirt. By the way, you may think that Rob and I don't fight, but we do underneath the desk. So if you're watching the stream, you see someone like move their head back like they're in pain, it's because one of the kicks got through and it got really good.
Bingo.
Yes.
I'm like Shawn Michaels down there.
There's nothing in between us, and I've been practicing my MMA kicks, and he's a little bit taller, so he's got like a couple inches reach on legs. Actually, he's got more than that because I have a really long torso, but still, now you know why. All right, couple things going on, including there is a PLE this weekend, this Saturday, and all right, I wish I had one of those spinny things so we can try to pick and see if, sweet shin music. Good one, James. See if we could pick what streaming service has the PLE on it. So I'm going to, I can't even make that spinning noise because I can't roll my R's or do anything like that. There we go. There it is. All right. All right, it is stopped. Rob, where will NXT No Mercy be aired on Saturday night at 7:00?
Cinemax. Cinemax still a thing?
HBO Max is kind of it's.
Oh yeah, I guess
that's
is.
what. Yeah.
This one's a cable one. I'm gonna say this one's on Hulu.
All right, it's still on Peacock.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's still on Peacock, and it looks like, from what I've been reading, going forward, more than likely, at least for a while, the NXT PLEs will be on Peacock.
Yeah, I've had a theory for a while that I think one of the reasons that they have gone so hard in the paint on NXT for a very long time is so that they can land it on another streaming service for another big deal. Like, part of the reason that if you want to watch every WWE event for the remainder of the year, you have to have like 7 different streaming services, is because every one of those 7 is paying the WWE a fat check. Sorry, TKO a fat check. And they have now out loud said that they do not care if it's too expensive for you because it's not too expensive for other people.
Well, as long as you make the choice to pay the money to watch it or find other means to watch it.
Not that we encourage that.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard tell that happens, though.
I wouldn't know anything about
I knew a guy who told me about it. Anyway, No Mercy happens Saturday night at 7:00. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 matches, some of which I'm actually pretty excited about it. The first one, not so much. Josh Briggs versus Javon Evans. Javon Evans, I am surprised that he hasn't moved up yet because of the things that he's able to do. He does remind you of Jeff Hardy to a degree, but more athletic Jeff Hardy, and the things that he is, and he takes on a lot of big guys and holds his own or just flat out beats them. Josh Briggs has been in NXT forever. I mean, I didn't check, but I bet he's been in there like 5-6 years. And right now, being in NXT is not a bad thing.
No,
because being on CW, it's getting a lot of views, and there's also, because that's it's a place where you go for sports. CW, being on CW, there's a lot of views, and why I guess there's a pay bump when you move up. At least I believe there's probably a big pay bump when you move up, but still having a job is probably a good thing too. Javon Evans wins this match.
Yeah. Briggs is kind of in that role of.
He's a tag team guy,
yeah.
And he's never going to get away from being a tag team.
Well,
guy.
I don't even think. I also think he's just like, there are some cats that fill out a niche, and he's a great niche of kind of like an NXT guy that you can go in there, prove that you can go for the dude. I wouldn't be shocked if I'm not saying this is Evans' last match in NXT, but I suggest it's one of his last matches.
All right, and something that I just enjoy saying this: a weaponized steel cage match, just because. It's not being sadistic. It's just we don't see those very often between Blake Moreau and Jordan Grace. We've talked about before how I feel like Jordan Grace is being held back a little bit. But this feud with Blake Moreau is going to help make them both. But would you want to be in a weaponized steel cage match with Jordan Grace?
So what's the caveat that makes it weaponized?
There are weapons in there.
Okay, that's what I'm at. Like,
if I recall, we've seen them in the past where like weapons are hanging on the ceiling and stuff. So I believe that's what it's going to be.
So it's effectively a no DQ match in a cage. That's a Jordan.
I think all cage matches are no DQ.
That's also fair. That's a Jordan Grace custom match. Like that's a setup for her to win. If she doesn't win this, that means she's probably on her way. Is it back down, I guess, to TNA? I don't know. It doesn't matter. The other aspect of this is like Blake Monroe doesn't need to be made. She's a star, and they can boost her whenever it's
wrestled
time.
like 5 times since she's been there, though.
I don't disagree, but there are some wrestlers who you can get away with them being a star with limited in ring, and she's got that riz, in my opinion. And again, like she proved herself time and time again before she came back. I think this is someone you can use sparingly to make sure she's good to go. And when she strikes me as someone you keep in the back pocket. So then when something happens, like you have a champ get injured or you call somebody up and you need somebody to take that spot, you can just pull the trigger on Blake Monroe and she'll be ready to go.
All right. I hate that I forget the name of this faction, but you'll remember when I get to it. All right. NXT Women's Speed Championship. All right. They've taken it off of X and put it on NXT now. It's Sol Ruca, who is the current champ and is amazing, versus Lainey Reed. And JC Jane, what's the name of the faction that she's in?
Is it Toxic Attraction or Fatal Attraction?
It's Fatal Attraction.
Fatal Attraction.
I think it's that. They just lost a member. And I believe that Lainey Reed's going to be the new member because the contract ran out for Jackson Nix, and she decided to move on to something else. So I think she's going to be the next member. I think there's going to be interference by them, and I think Sol Ruca loses the Speed Championship to Lainey Reed.
That's fair. I also have to say the Speed Championship is probably the one championship I've just literally never cared about. I just don't care about it. I get why you got it, and
it's kind of fun to watch. You know, there's going to be a winner when time runs out.
But like, doesn't that kind of take away from wrestling matches? Like, if I know you can go out there and win a match in 60 seconds, why all of a sudden do I care about a 12-minute match on NXT? Like, just go out there and do that. You put somebody down in 60 seconds. Just do that every match. Like, it just kind of, it's a kayfabe killer to me.
All right, North American Championship, Ethan Page versus Tavion Heights. They've been pushing Tavion Heights. Tavion Heights got a victory over Ethan Page Tuesday night, pretending to be a lucha, and pinned Ethan Page. Why is Ethan Page still in NXT? Just his over the top persona works really well in the main roster. I think Tavion Heights beats him and takes the belt.
I do not. I think All Ego retains, and I will, to some degree, answer your question because I think it's also the reason he wins this match. I think that they are a little trigger shy about moving people up because the last I would say a solid chunk of people that they have moved up. I'm looking at Carmelo Hayes specifically, who kind of had that over the top, can be great on either side of the line mentality. They moved up and it's just been a wash.
His speaking is not, it sounds like someone acting.
Carmelo or Ethan Page?
Carmelo. No, Ethan is smooth.
No, I agree. Yeah. And I do think Ethan is another one of those cats that's closer to the main roster than he is being a lifer on NXT. But at the same time, like, you've got something good going here, and I don't think you take it off him because of that.
All right, 2 more matches. NXT Women's Championship match between JC Jane and Lola Vice. Lola Vice, another wrestler they keep pushing. I think JC Jane keeps the belt.
Oh, we're different on a lot of these. I think Lola Vice has taken the dub. And I'll one of the reasons, and this is, I don't know if this is cheating or it factors in or whatever, been a lot of Lola Vice social media content over the past couple of weeks. Like a lot of it. And it's some of it's fun and goofy. Some of it's her like cutting promos that are only on Twitter or Instagram or whatever. Anytime, and I've seen this over the last couple of years, anytime one of them starts to get a big time push on the social media, usually that means they're about to do something. I hate that this is the reason I'm making the pick, but Lola Vice.
All right, and finally, for the NXT Championship, current champ Oba Femi versus big-time friend of the show, Ricky Saints.
I mean, you already know. You know how this is going to go.
All right, Oba has already been doing dark matches against Rusev and some other heavy hitters like that. Ricky Saints is going to win this.
Correct. Not just because he should, but also because the Rob Brown bump is real. By the way, shout out to new AEW Women's Champion, buddy of the show, Chris Statlander, who just got that belt. The Rob Brown Show bump is real, people. You'll stop doubting one day. It took a little while. It was a delayed bump for Stat, but a bump nonetheless. Ricky Saints is next. Every wrestler who comes on this show has a belt within a year. Every one of them.
All right, really quick, let's get to the...
Except R-Truth, but that's not his fault.
Yeah, but, let's get to the PWI top 500. We're going to do all 500 wrestlers here in the next 2 minutes.
Let's do it. Speed read, baby.
I just want to do the top 12. And here's the reason why I went with 12, because coming in at 12, say his name and he appears. That's not bad. Joe Hendry getting to number 12 on this list.
Not bad. It's great. It's great for a dude not on one of the big shows. Not that PWI really takes into consideration where you are. It's just how entertaining you are. But I was having this conversation with buddy of the show, Jack, the other day. It is incredible that this dude has a gimmick, which is literally just show up.
Self-made man.
It's incredible. It's
Yeah.
incredible. And it's so well. There was one he did with one of the NASCAR drivers the other day who showed up, and he just comes out of nowhere with a helmet, lifts the visor when they say Joe Hendry. And it's like, how are you so good at this? Your gimmick is just be there. And you've turned that. This is something that every wrestler in the world has to do. But your gimmick is just be there. And you're one of the top 12 wrestlers in the world. For the record, there's 2 or 3 guys I'd move him ahead of because he can go.
And he's a good wrestler, not a great wrestler. But when he gets big time into WWE and has a contract with WWE, I think his wrestling will improve. He is getting a little bit older, but still. All right, number 11 is Okada.
Have you looked at the main card
Yeah, I know,
on WWE right now?
I know.
Spring chicken.
And number 11 is Okada. Number 10 is Will Ospreay. Surprising that he's so low.
Yeah, but he's also been out of action a lot.
Yeah, he's been really, really hurt.
Yeah.
I mean, bad hurt. Number 9 is Mystico. Number 8 is Seth Rollins. And he is not the highest WWE wrestler. Number 7 is Swerve Strickland. Do you have any problems with any of these so far?
No, I honestly don't. Not so far. I mean, I could make the argument to switch Seth and Swerve.
Yeah, there's only one guy on this list coming up that I don't know who they are. Number 6 is Jey Uso. Surprised he's not a little bit higher with the kind of year he just had.
I'll be honest with you. I think he's only where he is because of the year that he's had. Like the
is it all just about the heat?
Yes, it is 100% about the height. And listen, don't get me wrong. That's okay. Like wrestling is 2
It's the
parts.
same thing we just talked about with Joe Hendry.
Wrestling is 2 parts. It is half wrestling and it is half entertaining. And Jey Uso has been wildly entertaining, even if he's not a particularly good wrestler. I think that's why the Usos were so good. They could cover each other up there. And I'm glad they're kind of clear. Like, I think they're kind of starting to work back together as a tag team, which I think is great. I think he's only this high because of Yeet.
All right, 5 more really quick. Number 5 is the wrestler. I don't know who they are. It's Hiroki Goto. I don't know who that is.
New Japan guy, I assume.
Yeah, probably. Number 4 is Hangman Adam Page, who is coming to his own and is a lot better on the mic and everywhere else. I still think he should have kept the eye patch, though. The eye patch was killer.
Listen, I like willing
He was
to
no
admit,
longer Millennial Cowboy. He was just a cowboy when he had that.
I love so much. It drives Lonzo up a wall. The Millennial Cowboy gimmick is one of my favorite gimmicks in wrestling of all time. It's one of my favorite gimmicks of all time. Like, yeah, life's tough sometimes, but also Buckshot Lariat. He's the best. I love him.
All right, number 3 is friend of the show, Gunther, which we haven't seen in a while. I don't know what's going on with Gunther.
I got, you know what? It's sometimes important to remember that out of sight, out of mind is one of the best tools you can have in wrestling. Because I think if this guy goes away for 6-7 months and then he shows up and he comes back as the big European badass ring general that he was before he took the couple of L's to Jay and whatnot, you can kind of let people forget that happened and you can bring him back as the big badass brawler he always should have been.
Here's what I hope. I hope he's secretly filming the new Bond film and he's the villain.
Good with that too.
That's what I want. All right, number 2 is Jon Moxley.
Mox. No problem with it. There was a pretty big lull in the middle of the year for what he was doing there. And there were some things that just like, even in kayfabe didn't really make sense that he was doing. But I also think that when he gets involved and Mox has bought into a story, they're great. They're great. His showdown with Stat last night, or was it Wednesday? Last night was stellar. She rolled through a hit, got up, double birded him in his face. Oh, I was like, Stat's a goat.
Last night was the flamethrower also, right?
Yes.
Yeah. I just don't. Okay. Finally, number 1 is Cody Rhodes.
Honestly, that's the only one I have a problem with.
Why?
Why? Like, why?
Listen, Rob, he has adrenaline in his soul, and I don't think you get it because of that. You don't have adrenaline in your soul. If you had adrenaline in your soul, you would understand why Cody is number one.
I'm too calm, cool, and collected. No,
that's you.
He is, as I've said a million times, and I don't say this with
Who
any
should be
level
number
of
one
disrespect. You could legit just bump everybody up one, drop Cody around Jay, and I'd be
So
fine
you're
with
going
it.
to put Moxley at 1.
I'd be willing to put Mox at 1.
I don't know. Maybe in years past. I get it. I don't think Cody would be number 1 next year.
I don't either. Hey, that's it for Fight Club. When we come back, we wrap this show up. We got a few more things I want to get to, including ABS coming to MLB. We'll get into that. We'll run through one more time the decision made, or I should say not made, yesterday by the College Football Playoff Committee about expansion. I'll tell you what that update is, and then whatever you guys want to get to on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate. Oh, man. All right, guys. Stay right there. We'll be right back. Un momento, por favor. The Rob Brown Show on your radio is the Fan Upstate. That's exactly what Mr. Announcer guy there just said. Wrapping up the show, not Southeastern Conference, the NCAA College Football Playoff Committee. That's who I want to talk about.
Same thing.
It's very, very close, to be honest. Met for 4 hours yesterday in Rosemont, Illinois, just outside of Chicago. Spent 4 hours talking business. The topic of playoff expansion came up, and they could not reach an agreement. But they also, according to Heather Dinich, only had about 20 minutes of conversation about expansion. I floated my theory as to why that is earlier in the show. It follows thusly. Because it's a bargaining chip for the Big Ten and the SEC. And you don't want to give away your bargaining chip if you do not have to. The Big Ten and the SEC realize that even though that may cost them a few $1,000,000 next year if they do not expand for next year. Oh, by the way, they do have until December 1st to come to a decision. So there is still over 2 months remaining before they have to decide that they will or will not. But they've got until December 1st, A. B, they don't want to take a chip off the table because I think both of them realize that while it may cost those two conferences a few $1,000,000 because they will have maybe 2 fewer teams than they would if they went to 16 or more than that. The reality is it is very possible, nay probable, that at some point down the line, one or both of these conferences comes to a sticking point about the playoffs that they would like to push through. And they may not be able to get it through without the other conference being on board. And that is when they may push their bargaining chip of conference playoff expansion, as in, we will maybe give you a little bit more here if you'll give us what we want over there. I think it's just a bargaining chip that the two big conferences, and in this case, I'm not going to say the only conferences that matter, but the only two conferences that will get their way matter. I think they just want to keep the bargaining chip on the table in front of them. I would not be shocked if we see expansion by December 1st. I would just wait for a story where the SEC and the Big Ten are butting heads over something, and that may even include the format of expansion if they decide to expand. But I would not be shocked if when the SEC and the Big Ten butt heads publicly once again, if that is when you see one of them push that chip into the middle of the table.
You said butt heads.
Oh, fair enough.
It's not always about the other thing. Sometimes it's literal.
Yep. And second off, MLB has officially approved automatic balls and strikes on a 2-challenge system to be implemented next season. The Hawkeye Tech will be installed in all 30 MLB ballparks. Catchers, pitchers, batters, the only 3 that can call for a replay. And I want to talk about this tomorrow because I got into thinking about how do teams handle that. You only get 2. If it's a successful challenge, you keep that challenge. You can use it again. If you miss the challenge, you lose the challenge. You only get 2. There's a lot of ways. How do we handle this? Can rooks use them, or do we tell rookies you haven't been here long enough? Only the vets get it. Is it so? Do you keep them in the back pocket for later in the game? Do you use them right out of the gate to have an advantage? I'm actually really intrigued by the strategery that will come out of this. We'll talk more about that tomorrow.
And now, the Rob Brown Show presents Twitter.
All right. Now, it's time for what? The X.
Do you just not have a lot of them today?
No, You don't remember. This has been a bit for the entire. You can't remember from hour 1 or 2 when you asked me why I did my sports flash a certain way.
Is William Shatner Xing?
Yes.
Okay. All right. That checks out then. William Shatner's birthday?
No, he was hospitalized.
No.
Yes.
See, this is what I always worry about when a person is Xing.
Yeah, but here's the thing. He was hospitalized and he tweeted out himself, first day of fall, I've fallen and I can't get up. And he tweeted that old lady from the commercials.
Yep.
So, according to what I read, his reps say he wasn't hospitalized, but everybody else says he was, including he put that out but he could have been joking. Maybe he didn't actually fall. Maybe he didn't go anywhere, but that's why he's Xing.
I would really like to believe that William Shatner did fall, and he tweeted that while he was on the ground waiting for help.
Probably, because
I also just found his Twitter account where he tweeted, just because someone believes something different than you do shouldn't make them targets, except that they don't see your views and move on. It's differing viewpoints that make life interesting and makes the world go round. Unless you believe the earth is flat, and then I guess it just sits there. Shatner's the best.
Yeah, he is. He's 94 years old, by the way. All right, the next, and that's pretty old. And and as soon as you see someone who's really old Xing, you're like, oh no. But anyway,
yes.
The next thing that's Xing is Wolverine.
Wolverine is Xing because, and I was informed of this last night. If this is the reason, do we have a Wolverine video game coming?
You didn't. I sent it to you last night.
I didn't see it if you sent it to me.
I did. I sent it to you on X and sent you the trailer, which you can view right now if you look at
where I you sure did.
Where
15
I sent
hours
it
ago.
to you. Yeah.
I didn't see it, or I would have watched it immediately.
Yeah, I mean, you can see it now and go, oh my God, I got to get this game. Here's the problem, though. From what I can tell, it's only on PlayStation. But I could be wrong.
It says on PS5. You're not wrong. Oh, that's really disappointing. This game could. I've said this about a couple of games, but freaking love Wolverine. And also, it looks brutal.
It does.
So this may be this might be the no, honey. I know we were saving up for our vacation, but I really do need a second console now.
Yeah, I haven't had a game that made me want to buy another system in a while. This one may make me want to do that. All right, the next thing that's Xing is Drew Brees.
Drew Brees is Xing because, and I am mad at myself because I had this on my prep to get to, and I just didn't get to it. The 2026 NFL Hall of Fame nominees have been released. Drew Brees and Larry Fitzgerald amongst a group of 11 players who were nominated as finalists in their first year of eligibility.
You're 47. What are you going to do?
Yeah, I know, but we had the college football stuff, and I always get told
college
football's got to go first.
No. I was pointing this out that you saw all these guys play in college. You saw all these guys' career in the NFL.
In college? I was out of college when Drew Brees won a Super Bowl.
Okay. All right.
I was out of college when Drew Brees was in his prime.
I just welcome to where I've been for a while.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. Larry Fitzgerald. I was a grown ass adult when Larry Fitzgerald was Larry Fitzgeralding people. I think maybe that's it. I think maybe the brain put that on the back burner there because it was just one more way that I was going to have to look at accept my mortal demise, which is in like 3 weeks.
Oh, let's hope not. Don't do that.
Metaphorically.
Yeah, I don't want to have to break in a new guy. All right. And finally, the last thing it's Xing, and I don't know if you knew that this was going on. Thursday Night Football is.
I did know that was going on. Are we excited about the game tonight?
I'm no. no, I'm not.
I haven't really heard anybody talking about it.
All right, who's playing?
This is Arizona, Seattle.
Yeah.
I know about it. That is also correct, Tim. Today, back in 2006, the New Orleans Saints returned to defeat the Atlanta Falcons in the Superdome after Hurricane Katrina. I was there. Greatest sports memory of my bleeping life. That's it for us. Thanks for being here, amigos and amigas. I hope you enjoyed the show. If you didn't, it's your own fault. You have bad taste in radio. You should come back tomorrow, though, because the Friday show, it's weird. It's off the rails. We'll have some fun. We'll break all the weekend down, give you our picks, predictions, previews, and prognostications for the weekends. Have a great Friday. Don't drink and drive. I'll punch you in the face. See you back here tomorrow on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate. Later.
Hey guys, like you said, we love you. Might as well go win the whole thing.
Yes.
Haven't we already done that before, like a couple times? Like 3 times?
Yeah, but we didn't do it last year.
We did not. You're right.
The only year that matters is that one. As every college football coach in the world has ever said, you're only as good as your last game. But you're also not as good as your best game or as bad as your worst game.
This is why we look forward to Cincinnati. Belichick, look forward to it's up there. Yeah,
Victor Hovland was just asked before the Ryder Cup how he plans on handling being heckled. And his response is, they cannot say anything worse to me than I say to myself every day. That's my athlete of the day. That's me of the day.
That's me of the day.
Yeah.
You just said, okay. All right.
Ain't nobody gonna say anything to me that is worse than what I say to myself.
So we're going to diffuse this by I'm going to self-deprecate and then no one. Yeah, that's not going to work.
No,
I mean, it's still going to come at you. And when you think there's nothing that someone could say that can mess with you, there absolutely is something.
I'm sure that there is. You know who finds it? Kids, little kids. Little kids are really good at finding your insecurity. Like it's like a superpower for them. My little nephew does it all the time. Like he will just come out of left field with something that I'm like, I have feelings still because you just hurt them. You little a-hole.
Oh, I have to have discussions with Silver quite a bit. This is why you don't say this, because you just hurt grandma's feelings. And let me tell you why you did that. I didn't mean to. I know, but you did. Don't do that anymore. Like going and telling the lady, why are your teeth messed up at the Dollar General? It's like, okay, we don't say that.
Like you're not wrong. But you can't say it.
Yeah, she needs
good
work.
Question.
She needs work, but you can't.
But don't say it.
Yeah.
Oh, man. All right, dudes and dudettes, I got a jet. Got to go clean up the house before the wife gets home and also do my job. Thanks for being here. Hope you enjoyed the show. Tell your friends about us. We're trying to get rich, famous, retired, no particular order. Have a good one. Adios.